What a delight and blessing to see the growth of our crew here. Roy in the EP chair, clean-shaven, brave bravado in the middle of the playoffs. The hockey playoffs, we've got a clean-shaven Roy looking 15 years younger.
15?
I don't understand what you're doing. The hockey playoffs
No
are
one
about
does.
growing a beard. You are the cleanest shaven I've ever seen you. And behind you is a very crowded row of people. Chris Cody likes that back row, likes the space in that back row. Mike Ryan likes that back row. Jeremy gets stuck in a corner in that back row when Chris and Mike are moving and shaking and feeling themselves. And then here to poison it all, Charlie. Why is Charlie here?
I'm coming for all the stuff, Dan.
Get his ass!
Shit.
First words.
Woo!
That producer in that shipping container in that city.
He's a gladiator behind the mic.
Why is Charlie here?
This is my dog, man. It's my
But
guy.
what is that? I don't understand. I have the crew that I need to do the show today. I've got Mike, I've got Chris, I've got Roy, I've got Jeremy. That's a sweet spot. Billy's working on vacation. Billy will come back, but this is a sweet spot. He's working on vacation on God Bless Football because it's going to be a monster as soon as the football season starts. But there's Charlie in Billy's seat, no less. In Billy's seat. Which I don't think he has proper respect for. Do you think he has proper respect for what that seat is? Mike?
You're supposed to respect the seat. Billy doesn't respect the seat. That's his whole deal.
He's sitting next to you, very comfortable in our show when we don't need to hear from him
You
today.
got your ass. Just take the L. Don't be lashing back out. Come up with a bar of your own.
He did get your ass.
Damn.
I lost to Charlie?
Yeah, he got you from the start. Roy, what are you doing?
What?
Like, you're clean shaven in the middle of the Stanley Cup final. It's the time that you grow out the beard. The Panthers are leading. Historically, when they're in the playoffs in this spot, they go up 3-1. You're tempting fate, pal.
Nah, man. Listen, last season I didn't have a full beard because I can't grow a beard. I had facial hair, and then they lost 3 in a row.
Yeah, but they won the Stanley Cup. So
Yes.
you'd never shaved, and they won their first cup in franchise history. And in the middle of the series, against 2 of the best players in the world, you decided, we won 6-1. That'll do, beard. That'll do. We're going to go clean shaven.
I mean, I think the problem is people wait until things go wrong to make a change. And if you remember last year, I believe during the Stanley Cup final, Greg Cody and Dan Le Batard did things that people considered jinxes. You know what happened? Game 7. Give me that. So Roy is just trying again.
You know what happened? Almost an unprecedented comeback. The biggest comeback in the history of finals.
This
you
is
had
worse.
a ball. You had so much fun, and you got the cup. So Roy's just making sure.
I had fun
You did.
during the cup final.
Our behavior last year is one of the great acts of cowardice in the history of sports media. Start the show so we could see the face of Roy, please.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
I hear him chatting the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution.
Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put them in the cage, never let out the.
I hear him chatting the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys, not so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
It is strange judgment, Roy, that you would go clean-shaven right toward the end of the hockey playoffs when, like, traditionally hockey beards, it's a strange choice. Were you thinking about it when you pulled out the razor? Like, as you are a now veteran member of the Hockey Writers Association?
Rookie year.
Questions.
Oh, okay, questions.
Right. So
wait. Just earlier this week, Roy said casually, you informed us that you were a voting journalistic member of the Hockey Writers.
That is correct. Yes, I voted for the Masterton Award for dedication to hockey.
And no one asked a follow-up question until Mike came in today in an interrogative style and had a few questions about what you had written to become a writer.
I did write a op-ed during the Four Nations tournament as political in nature. So that's my one piece.
All right, so that's a one piece for the Hockey News. So naturally, you became a member of the Pro Writers Association after you wrote.
No, I was invited into the association prior to the season by the ranking chair of the region down here in Florida.
Woo!
Right? Okay, cool. But you weren't a writer.
Correct. I was not a writer. No, I'm a media member, just like Elliot Friedman is a media member.
Right, but no, he writes. I'm familiar with his game. He's written. All right, help me out here.
Help you out here.
Yeah, so they're just like writers' associations across sports. Generally speaking, Dan, reserved for writers, right?
Well, he wrote.
He is a writer.
Yeah, I know. And if he wrote before, I wouldn't have any more questions.
Ooh, I would say they have a draft before you become a professional athlete. So that's essentially what happened. They were like, hey,
No.
we know this guy.
Nah.
A lot of potential.
Nah.
Come on, get in our association.
Nah.
Now right.
Nah. If the draft were, all right, let's see who here might be a hockey player, then I'd follow you. But they draft hockey players because they were playing hockey before they got drafted in the pro ranks. So they had proof of concept. Roy was entered into this Writers Association before he was a writer.
Potential.
Well, there are non-writers in the Writers Association.
I guess that's one of my questions.
Mike, shh. Don't blow his cover.
Why do I feel racist? Besides, why are you giving me the racist eye right now? Because like I asked him before the show, and like my second follow-up, he's like, well, I'm a member of the NAB. Hey, wait a second. We are not doing that. We are not doing that right now. This is a very logical question.
He is a member of the National Association of Black Journalists.
Yeah, I know that. And I was not arguing those bona fides.
It felt like you were suggesting that there's something about Roy, mustachio-less Roy, that means he can't be.
No.
I didn't like the accusations you were making.
You're right. There was something about Roy to me that indicated that he might not be eligible for the Writers Association. It was the fact that he wasn't a writer.
He is, though. He wrote. It seems like you're alone in this. The fact is, the man wrote.
Yeah, no, I know. I know.
Political
I'm alone
in
this.
nature, he said.
Yeah, I know I'm alone in this. Right? So I get it. And it's a very easy take that all of you are writing right now. I get it. I'm the bad guy. All right, cool.
I'm fine with Roy being in.
Thank you,
I'm
Chris.
not. That's it. I'm not. He ain't a writer. What is this?
Okay.
He's jealous that he's not in it. I guess.
I don't want to be
All right,
in it.
so
I'm
just-
not a writer.
All right, so to be clear, though, you're okay in 2025 to be jumping up and down saying that Roy doesn't have a right to vote.
Hey, that's what you're saying.
Because he hasn't written, not because he can't write, but because he hasn't written.
Yes. I am saying that he's not a writer, and it's weird that the Writers Association invite non-writers, but I guess new media, that's cool. He cited a bunch of people that are also non-writers. He mentioned Elliot Friedman, who's written. I don't know who else is a non-writer that's in the Writers Association, but he also cited the fact that he wrote after he gained entry into the Writers Association, and everyone's looking at me like I'm crazy.
You're trying to diminish his accomplishments. You're trying to diminish his journalisming. You're trying to do it by
You're
saying,
trying to frame me as a racist.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you are.
You waded into those waters.
No,
my
you're trying
friend.
to. All right, I'm being attacked.
I mean, it
Being
does.
attacked.
It does feel as though you're giving Roy an unnecessary hard time. Like, is this infringing upon something in your life? Is there some way that this is harming any of us? The man deserves representation and voting for the most dedicated. Who's more dedicated? Who? I ask you. Is more dedicated than Roy and people like Roy.
So what perks do you get for you wrote the column and you got to vote for one award? Do you get to vote for Conn Smythe?
No, not this season. Probably either next season or the season after.
So you build up some tenure.
Yes.
In that tenure, do you write more?
Probably write a couple more op-eds.
Yeah. Is this something? No. This is a genuine question. Are you trying to be a hockey writer?
I mean, I have the capability to actually write for the Hockey News, but
yeah, you used to do
right
that.
now.
You used to write. That was like one of your strong suits when we were writing blogs and stuff like that.
Mike,
at 790.
Mike did. Mike seemed hurt. Mike seemed hurt that he did not know that you had written something, that you hadn't told anybody.
He didn't tell anybody.
That you didn't tell
I tweeted
anybody.
It. I actually did tweet it. I tweeted it out. That I
No
wrote
one's
it out
on
there.
that thing anymore.
Okay.
I've
Yeah.
seen the soups go way down.
I did on Threads. I tweeted that out. Threads too, and Blue Sky and whatever.
Why did we not do?
I'm not on that echo chamber.
Oh, okay.
You
There you
can't
go.
catch me on Blue Sky. That place sucks. Here's a cat.
An echo chamber.
Here's a picture of a cat. And if you live in a red state, you're a commie. I don't like that place.
Sounds fucking amazing.
That place is one big circle jerk over at Blue Sky. Everyone just like circle jerk and saying, we're not an echo chamber.
All right, please don't do those gestures anymore. Thank you. Jeremy, can you please find for me the other writers associations, how many non-writers and non-traditional journalists they allow in? Because I do believe Roy has written more than Mike has read when he listens to his audio books.
Oh, come on. What? It's because I'm white. That's what it is.
You're white?
I'm a white Hispanic. But no one's white down here when they go to the Club World Cup.
Well, let's talk about this for a second. Can we talk about this for a second? Because what's headed this way, Dominique, optically and otherwise to sports, we are warning you now, okay? And maybe you do not care about this because it's 10th on the list of American horrors at the moment, and you've got bills to pay, and you're not worried about other people's problems.
Man, why you just frame me as someone who doesn't care? That was a hell of a setup.
But when it comes to ice and the soccer games that are approaching here and the racial profiling of we're going to have to prove you're a citizen as you walk into the stadium with, you know, am I overstating this when I say it looks like state militia? Like, am I overstating? I don't want to actually be using hyperbole, but if there are protesters and you're sending in the National Guard to overreact to peaceful protesters, and this is the escalation of things, white people against non-white people, and brown people are going to be profiled of prove you live here, person who wants to go to a soccer game. The optics of that, does anyone care? Are we past, are we in such deep shame at this point that, okay, those are the optics we're going to choose because that's the war we're in at home over American democracy and the hating of others?
So we know how they profile and they go to places where Hispanics hang out. We've seen it interrupted restaurants, graduations in Hispanic communities. On the live broadcast yesterday during the NBA Finals that we did, I mentioned that instead of being where I had a prior commitment, but I broke it to be here. That prior commitment was a Telemundo party for 1 year out for the World Cup, celebrating us being the host nation for it. That boat that went out for this party, the Telemundo 1 year out party, was boarded by the Coast Guard. And people that were on that boat, including local county officials, FIFA officials, they had to show documentation. And you wonder, where did the Coast Guard? Is this just a random occurrence? No, they targeted the Telemundo party. And yesterday we mentioned that ICE and Homeland Security are going to be at the Club World Cup game on Saturday, where it kicks off here in Miami. And they said any non-American is going to have to provide their papers. Okay, cool. Is there an American Express lane? How do I prove I'm an American? In Miami, they're just going to be grabbing people that look different. And plenty of Americans and plenty of conservative Cubans are going to find out exactly where they stand right now in this nation. No American should have to feel that inconvenienced going to what is a sporting event, something that they do with their income, that they want to have a good time with their family, they want to feel safe, and they're going to feel like their rights are violated. And they're going to feel profiled because someone in a uniform wearing a mask is going to demand to see proof that they were born here or are a citizen, it should scare you. And there are a lot of people that are going to get a rude awakening going to these games.
You brought up the optics. I think the optics are the point. Like, it's not a mistake that a lot of these things are public and the choices to make big shows of it, because I think while some of us get up in arms about the optics, I think there are some people who are encouraged by the optics. It appears to be happening what they say that they want it to happen. So, and then the reaction to it is also something that fuels another reaction. I'm not proposing any proper solution or that behavior should change, but I think that it's silly for us to be surprised by the fact that this is happening and the fact that they're choosing such public events to spoil. Like, it's sad, and it stinks.
And if you see where ICE is concentrating their efforts, they're in blue cities, more melting pot cities. What's going on in Miami? Miami's not a blue city. Miami is the only MAGA metropolis there is in the Union. Why Miami? Why so much presence in Miami? You know why. Everyone knows why. Being a red county doesn't buy you anything. It's not going to buy you anything with this administration. It's not going to buy you anything to an ICE official that says, you don't look American enough to me.
This is where we're headed and are, I guess. I shouldn't even say it's where we're headed. And so I would just ask the audience who, spends a night with us last night just enjoying a finals game, because we are connected to this audience in an unusual way in a number of different places. And sometimes it's been in talking about the immigrant struggle or whatever it is that's different for brown people or black people that makes us now WDEI in sports radio. But what is here now for our people in Miami in the face, about to be brought by sports, is the idea that you and all your friends can go to the game and be stopped because all of us here look kind of from somewhere else. Like, we don't. Everyone here, everyone I see here, I just start talking Spanish to, often incorrectly.
I really don't understand how we just take their word for it that Americans have nothing to worry about, but non-Americans provide your papers. How are we doing this exactly? It's just by how I look.
I would say that maybe not the best judgment to have Rose's hockey reaction behind you while we're talking about.
Actually, perfect. Actually, perfect.
I'm just saying.
Perfect reaction to what's coming this way. And Johnny Infantino, this feels like it was brokered. Chumming around in the Oval Office, seeing Johnny Infantino has never met a tyrant he doesn't love. And this was allowed by FIFA, part of the deal. And it's just, people have no idea, potentially, how bad this can be, how violated they will feel, especially down here, where the voting demographics for Latinos are heavily conservative. Heavily.
Speaking of voting demographics, I think Chris just voted with his feet. He just walked right out of there. He was like, I don't want nothing to do with this.
He's producing the show. He wasn't. You thought he was cannonballing there?
He was cannonballing.
South Florida is a. We touched on the TPS, the travel protections for Venezuelans and Cubans being lifted, and a lot of Miami conservatives found out exactly where they are in the pecking order. You had Maria Elvira Salazar, Carlos Jimenez insist that this wasn't going to happen. And then it did happen, and they're left holding the bag. And while they say we're going to work with the current administration to make sure that this is reversed, they're finding out exactly where they stand with this administration. Doesn't matter if you voted red, doesn't matter if you support the cause. If you're different, you're going to be lumped in with everybody else, no matter your loyalty to me.
I personally, call me crazy, I would like us to respect everyone's rights, no matter whether they've written one piece or 100 pieces. That's all.
He really.
I mean, if you are a citizen of the Writers Association, I demand that you be treated as such.
Let me see your papers, Roy. Let me see your hockey newspapers.
All right, I will text you my article. All right, hold on. Give me 1 second.
Okay, prove yourself.
Roy, don't show him nothing.
You
ain't got to show him nothing, Roy.
Then you can stay in the Pro Writers. I really should have taken that angle. I really. Show me your paper, and then you can stay. In fact, everyone show me your papers. Dan hasn't written in a long time.
It has been a minute.
He got to get his writer's visa renewed.
I've only written forwards for Greg's book and Stugotz's book. That's the only writing that I have done recently. I am with you, Roy. First of all, you don't have to be a writer in order to be a voter. You don't have to know how to write. And I'm with you.
Oh, don't frame it that way.
And
you pick voter on purpose. You don't have to be a writer to be a writer.
What do you mean?
Is what you should have said.
No. You don't want Roy to be able to vote. You're hurt, stung because he didn't tell you that he had written. You're hurt. And
That
you're
did
stung.
burn.
And you don't want him to vote, you want him to prove to you that he has the right to vote. Correct?
It sounds like.
Correct. That's how you're ending that. Yeah, correct. Correct.
Is that not the situation we
It is
find
not the
ourselves
situation,
in?
Dan Le Batard. It is not the situation at all.
Do I have to march? I have to march, don't I?
No one here knew that he wrote. No one.
That's true.
And y'all just took it when he said, I'm a member of the Pro Writers Association.
We did. There were no follow-ups.
That ain't on me, Jack.
I should have followed.
It's on you.
What's on me?
It's on you.
What's on me?
If you take all his tweets after every game, you could make a column out of that.
We
No
just
doubt.
respect our teammate.
Yeah, take his word for it. I think the analogy fits. Like, I don't walk around if someone has a thick accent as they're speaking. I don't say, "Show me your papers." I'm going about my business. Obviously, you belong here, and I feel the same way about Roy and his writing. Is he a part of the Writers Association? Yeah, so he belongs there.
It's weird. There's one comment on this story, and it's from David Dwork saying, how do you think the Oilers will respond in Game 4?
Roy's face is behind me for a number of different reasons.
Rose's face.
I'm sorry, Rose's face.
I don't look like that.
Is behind me. No, you're in front of me, clean shaven. That's a bit confounding. Rose is behind me, horrified, because that's how she looked 17 seconds left just a few periods ago, back before the Panthers feel the way they do right now, and how the Pacers feel right now, which is that sweet spot that fans have up to 1 with the third game at home. We've gone from that particular horror to you feel today very confident that you're not going to head toward the fear in the Stanley Cup, correct? I'm going to get to the NBA in a second. We spent 4 hours with it last night. Thank you to everybody who participated and thank you to Merrill for spending time with us. But you found yourself, if 3 periods today go 5-4 Edmonton, you're right back to scared, right? Like you're feeling very good now. This is the sweet spot for fans of a team that are up to 1. You have these next 12 hours to enjoy yourself before you have to go back to the fear. And if you leave 3-1, that's the spot Indiana's in.
Well, first of all, never scared. No, not going to happen. But if the Panthers do end up losing, it's going to be a best of 3. So I'm very confident in the Panthers going out to Edmonton and getting a win. Twice. If this goes
Roy,
7
best
games.
of 3 with 2 on the road. Come on.
You didn't hear him, man. Bone crusher.
I ain't never scared, man.
Dan, this team has every reason to be confident going on the road, thinking you can get 1. I know Roy is kind of just like
you have to get 2 if you lose tonight. You have to get 2 on the road. Best of 3.
No, if we lose tonight, we can win 1 at home, Game 6, and then just need to win 1 of 2 on the road.
What if you lose tonight? You are in a series with 2 of the best players in the world, best of 3, and they have 2 at home, and you have to win. You have to win in their place.
Yeah, you have to win 1 in their place. It's been, what was the stat, Roy? Draisaitl and McDavid and all the games that they played together since early 2024 that they've been both held scoreless.
Oh, now we want to ask the writer for stats, huh? Okay.
5? Was it 5 against the Panthers, I believe? 5 games?
It doesn't happen. It's a huge statistical anomaly whenever McDavid and Draisaitl are both healthy on the ice playing for the Edmonton Oilers and both are held off the score sheet. Hell, they weren't even shooting the puck really in the last game. So I expect 2 of the best players in the world to come out and do what McDavid did last year in this very similar spot when they were down in the series, being counted out, and then he realized, I'm going to stop setting people up. I'm going to start scoring like a demon. And I expect demon Connor McDavid, and I expect a healthier Leon Draisaitl to be really good. They're both much improved defensively. And while 6-1 makes you feel great and makes you feel like the Florida Panthers figured something out, that player has shown you already with a lesser team, he's not going to quit.
I saw a stat that really simplifies this whole series. 10 games the Panthers and Oilers have played between this series and last year's Cup final. Whoever scores the first goal in every game wins. Scary. Don't let the Panthers get the first one.
Analytics,
That's all I'm
guys.
saying.
That's
I think we could, if we get another one tonight, if we get that first goal, I think, because our crowd's one of those crowds where we might not wow you at the beginning, but if we get a lead, we know how to celebrate. So I just think if we get that first, I think that, like, to that stat, I think the first goal is huge. I think if Edmonton gets it, I think we all get scared. I think if we get it, it could be another 3-1, 4-1 game.
So Dan, Chris, Roy, no, the puck knowers.
Charlie?
Well, because I don't know if they watch the first two games.
Interesting.
Let me see your
you're
papers.
Excluding
Jeremy
couple
doesn't
of
like
matzo
hockey.
ball lovers.
Your take on the Miami Heat was so atrocious like 2 weeks ago. You ruined it for me. All right? The first two games, whose style was that played in? Edmonton style. Yeah. We played into Edmonton's game, and Florida came away with a split. But I think in Game 3, Edmonton showed you, we're going to change things up, and they tried to play the Panthers' way, and they got embarrassed. They fafoed. In this entire series.
What is that word?
FAFO. Acronym.
He's right.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know. I've never heard
Bleep
that
around and
before.
find out.
Okay, sorry. I didn't. My bad.
Show me your papers. Edmonton's led for 9 minutes in this series.
It's a great catchphrase. You just use it all the time. It's your go-to catchphrase. no matter what is being said, you just respond to everybody.
In the digital
Nowadays
age,
it slaps.
in the
my
digital
man
age,
is making up for yesterday's show.
In the digital age, if you hit me with a "show me your papers," I'm disarmed immediately.
Analog.
When I don't have any papers.
Analog. Show me that weird little circular scar on your arm. Let me know when your parents came to town. And show me your parents' papers too. So they've led for 9 minutes in this entire series. We're 3 games into this series. 2 of the games played by their style. So Edmonton's going to be searching for answers. I think the answers go back to what you did the first 2 games, but is that going to be enough? I think this is going to be a really long series. I think it's still 7 games, and I'm not reading too much into a 6-1 defeat. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think McDavid and Draisaitl will come out with their hair on fire.
I'm sorry. I just got really happy. I just sold 2 tickets. I've been taking a bath on these tickets that I bought for these playoffs, and I just sold my first 2. All right, we're in the game, baby.
What do you mean? You sold your tickets?
Like, no, I have, because I'm a season ticket holder, so I got access to extra tickets, to play the game. But let me sell these things. In the first game, Game 3, took a big bath.
Sold to who? What's her surname? Does it end in a Z?
I'm just happy. I think I might have even taken a loss on these tickets, but I sold them.
So why are you happy that you sold your tickets?
You know what taking a bath's like, Dan? That was last game.
Sounds pretty nice.
This is like, what's it called when you just take a little loss? A bath is when you lose every dollar you spend.
People went at the crowd for leaving early. And I get it. It's not really a school night. We're on summer vacation right now. They pointed to a lot of empty seats when it was 6-1. The only counter that I had to that, it was like, how do you know those weren't Edmonton fans? Which is also a bit of a cell phone right now. So I hope that the Panthers fans bring it, even if especially if it goes the same way that Game 3 went, because the eyes of the hockey world are on you.
I have a number of questions.
I hope somebody's looking up taking a bath.
I want to know.
We know that it's coming, right?
I want to know why someone's taking a bath. Why did you take a bath in losses? Why are you selling your tickets? Why are you celebrating that you're selling your fandom so that an Edmonton fan could have your tickets?
You're misunderstanding. I'm going with my 2 tickets. Because I'm a season ticket holder, I got early access to extra tickets. I bought a couple, hoping to make a couple bucks flipping them. Yes, it might be an Edmonton fan.
I see you flip them things.
No,
push your C.
But what I'm telling you is, Game 3, I did 0 pushing. I took a bath. I bought tickets. They didn't sell. I had to give them away.
A bath sounds lovely.
It does.
But you're not saying
being washed, but that's a bad thing.
I've got the origins of taking a bath. It emerged in Wall Street in the 1920s and 30s. That's around the time of the Great Depression, right? Yeah. Take a bath meant to get cleaned out financially, as if being washed away or stripped bare after a bad investment or a market crash.
Boom. Took a bath.
Perfect usage. Nice job.
Bought 4 tickets. Had to give them out.
Push a C on the mark.
I want to get to something Dolphin related.
That's a bar, man.
Ain't it?
I hate it.
Kick it off, man.
So the first clip song in like 2 decades. Here we go. Yellow diamonds look like pee-pee. How am I
love
supposed to get behind this?
I'm behind it.
And then I'm totally behind it.
My son made fun of me because I had it playing. And he was like the first line, but he got into it later. He was like, "Piece like Mahatma, what does that mean?" I was like, "I'll break it all down for you, young man."
Everybody quiet down. This is one of the greatest MCs ever. Pusha's going to freaking knock this out the park. Yellow diamonds look like pee-pee.
I love it. Profit to Waikiki.
Roy has some dolphin sound that I want to get to. Tua is saying that the culture has changed around the Miami Dolphins.
All fixed, Dan.
McDaniel is saying that everything is now he's in charge. All of it kind of rings a bit hollow.
I feel good.
Okay,
it's all fixed.
Okay.
What do you mean?
Okay.
Let's hear what Tua says here.
Right,
I mean, it's
okay. So you're
nothing
willing
to worry about.
All right, you're willing to buy on Tua and culture change. We'll get some expertise from Dominique on this.
There is a culture shift, and I know it. I mean, I feel it just as much as everyone that's been here since I've gotten into the league. We always hear about, culture shift. You guys have a change of this. You guys are doing this. Always optimistic, but I really do feel in my heart that this is a change of scenery for our guys in the locker room, and then it also transitions to our coaches as well, because we get opportunities to lead, and it's not as much the coaches as it is the players, I would say, this year.
I feel better. Problem solved.
I want to play McDaniel as well because I want to know how real any of this is because we can agree on this, right? I believe anybody who's listened to our show for the last 3 years would understand that we have profound respect for how the architecture of the Florida Panthers has been built so that excellence can be represented in sports in our city in a way that's enduring, dynastic. Everyone can see in a sport, holy shit, that's the best thing. It looks like the best thing. The Dolphins used to be that in this town. Used to. They've been surpassed in this town by a pair of teams, and the Dolphins are the one that we want to root for. And the coach, Boy Wonder, is now in a swamp of, the words aren't so cute and the genius isn't so cute if Tyreek Hill isn't always faster than everyone else. And so play the sound of McDaniel, who's probably coaching for his job now, right?
Hey, it's okay to call someone out when they deserve to be called out. And for those people it's okay to be called out as long as you change your fucking behavior. Okay?
You heard that? When someone tells you something, you change your effing behavior. I'm feeling good about the Dolphins after those two clips.
Me too, Chris. My brother, Mike McDaniel, is on to something. I appreciate that. He's changed the culture. So I think we can have fun with it and we can make a lot of jokes. I think it's unfair of us not being in the locker room, and I get you saying that it's not a change of scenery, but I believe that he means metaphorically, like it feels like things around there have changed. I think disseminating the message is different than how you feel in that locker room, and I assume that they actually do feel differently. The first step to changing the culture, and I'm sure Charlie's going to be tired of hearing me saying this because I do it on our show all the time where I define what culture is. It's like the accepted behaviors and practices and processes in an organization. So we all say culture, and it just means something amorphous. It means the way that you do business. So the idea that you show up to meetings 5 minutes early or 10 minutes early, like that's part of culture. The idea that you watch film afterwards, that's part of culture. All the organizations I've been a part of, the culture is something that you inherit from the players that are there, and it's something that the players must, to the point that McDaniel was making, the players have to hold each other accountable. They have to call each other out. Saying it to the media, I don't care about that. If they're actually living that, that matters because it's pretty easy to motivate guys when they understand that their livelihoods actually do depend on the people next to them.
To that point, I can use your counsel here and advice on leadership and culture changing right now in our environment. I have not gone back to Charlie since he defeated me. I've been scarred by that, and I didn't want to look into that corner because I underestimated someone who considers himself my nemesis, and I had never...
Arch nemesis.
And I had never considered a nemesis until he came onto my show for the first time in front of me with a microphone and did a me to me in my face to start the bidding of he's now my nemesis. And so how would you change the culture around me so that Charlie can be more freely welcomed by this ego monster.
There's no need to change the culture. I thought that was awesome. Are your feelings hurt? Nah, you good. And the problem is you're acting as if this was a surprise. He called you a Nemi months ago. You been nuked that he was a nemesis of yours. I don't know why you're surprised.
I had underestimated. He does consider himself my nemesis. I had not considered. I mean, come on,
Arch Nemi.
Why would he be my nemesis?
Nemhard.
Well, Dan, we have a relationship where for every 10 texts I send you, you respond to one. And normally it's in a group chat where you're like, this guy sucks. So that's some Nemi behavior.
Is it? Chris Cody, you got a verdict on this?
I don't know if he thinks about you a lot if he's only responding to...
It is the Mad Men meme. I don't think about you at all.
Well, clearly I underestimated you because I was not expecting that you would come on this turf and immediately do a better impersonation of me than I've ever heard.
It was some gangster shit.
God damn.
This has been on your show. How long? I have not listened to your show enough to know how much
Oh my
Dan
God.
Le Batard is.
He just listens to all the episodes where he hasn't done it.
So I need to tell you something. You've known Charlie as long as I've known Charlie. Really long time.
Longer.
Yeah, longer than I've known Charlie. This is a new Charlie, man. Like in the last year or two, I've encouraged Charlie to go ahead and be his true self. And his true self is cocky. He's my FU guy. So every team has a guy that is like, when things get out of hand, they got to straighten people out. That's Charlie. And I think you didn't know that about him because you met him when he was young. He's turned into a new person.
Yep.
I love him. I'm proud of him.
He's got cloth pants now.
Striped cloth pants.
Linen.
He only got 3 nice shirts, though, and I get on him about it all the time, and that's one of them. That's his best shirt.
How much is the fake Dan Le Batard a part of the Dominique Foxworth show, a rising digital spaceship at ESPN?
I mean, we don't think about you that much.
I didn't ask that question. I said how much. I'm asking. I am not asking for flattery. I'm just asking to know how much of a character the fake Dan Le Batard is on the Dominique Foxworth show.
It makes it pretty often. When we get to a topic, I think Charlie uses it as a tool to make sure that I hear myself when I get grandstandy, high horsey.
Oh, so he uses it as a device.
Yeah.
Get ready, Charlie. We're like about 5 seconds away from Dan going, would the fake Dan Le Batard like to have some more observations?
Only thing left. Well, I don't want to spoil it. I know one move that he hasn't pulled out yet, and I know it's coming eventually, and I can't wait for it. It's my favorite Dan move.
Can we have fake Zagacki and Le Batard at a dinner together?
He's giving
We'll have
them
the
all
check and your
confidence.
papers.
You let him in that room, and it is a mutiny in there.
It's a shame. I used to like coming to this place. Was that Jamel? Was that Jamel?
Quiet, curly-haired revolutionary in there, just sitting in a corner, seething resentment.
No, I'm still with you, Dan. Fellow writer here, so I'm with you.
Roy, I don't know how it is that we as a show sort of copyright in a hurry, show me your papers as a threat.
Already been copyrighted by the U.S. government, Dano.
Yeah.
We can make anything comedy.
I'm just saying the aggressive.
Really? Did you hear the first 10 minutes? Thanks for your buy-in, pal. No one else had that question? I guess I'm an asshole.
You know what? Mike, I did have the question when Roy said it.
In your mind.
It stayed in my mind.
Coward. Content coward.
It stayed in my mind because, as we often do, we moved on to soups or the Stanley Cup final or whatever, so it slipped my mind. But I did think about it for a moment in passing. I did not
You know
ask.
how I trotted this one out on the air today? As I mentioned it yesterday, beta test. Oh, yeah, that's a funny observation, Mike. No one else had thought to ask. What do you write? I come out here on the goddamn island.
Well, I wasn't.
And everyone thinks I'm a dick for it. I don't even want to see the comments.
Kind of a dick for it.
We got filters, baby. Filters.
We workshopped it before the show. Yeah, I think I got buy-in. Whoa, he's heading down a dangerous path.
You lead that one, Mike.
Yeah, you're taking away his votes. Taking away his votes, voting rights. That was how you were helping me. Rather been on that boat that got raided by ICE yesterday. Teammates like this. And I know I wasn't a great teammate for Roy, but that's how we, it's an ensemble. Yeah, it's an ensemble. We do it. I'll be the dick this, and you guys be the funny guys.
No, don't give away. Don't give away the game.
Just a vacuum.
Don't give away the game.
Just Roy, who is like the nicest he's ever been to me. Help it. The most.
Don't. Give
I got
away
the most
game.
help comedically from Roy in this segment, and he was the one that was like getting attacked because that's how you framed it.
I was just sitting back, like shaking my head.
You were all holding the umbrella.
Good teammate.
Thank you. It's what happened.
It just gets in the way.
Still a banger. I'm not sick of that song.
Oh my God. Every morning.
I'm not going to apologize to Mike. He didn't want Roy voting.
Was that Charlie?
You can't do that.
After a blank space on the calendar, Formula One is back in Azerbaijan despite its reputation for tight corners and narrow roads. F1 is putting a sprint race in Baku. On Saturday, Charles Leclerc is fearless in pole position as the sprint begins. But at the start, London boy George Russell delivers some karma to Max Verstappen, making him a move to push him wide. Max is red, but George says, "Don't blame me." Number 22, Yuki Tsunoda, clips the wall and loses a tire after just 2 laps. At the restart, Sergio Perez has a lead with 5 laps left. It's time to go. Checo wins the sprint race, but Max and George have bad blood when the race ends. You guys see what I'm doing yet? Will there be vigilante shit on Sunday?
This
Max,
is amazing.
You need to calm down because it's lights out and away we go in Baku. Sparks fly, and Verstappen is driving like he's in a getaway car and pulls out into the lead. Long story short, Nick DeVries has a glitch and a safety car ensues. Perez is in the lead after a slew of pit stops, but he's not out of the woods yet. The one driver, Max Verstappen, has speed, but that's when Sergio Perez says, "Bye-bye, baby." As the race ends, Esteban Ocon goes into the pit, but the mastermind race organizers have let press onto the treacherous pit lane. This is why we can't have nice things. 7-time champion Lewis Hamilton finishes 6th. The last great American dynasty, Haas, finishes out of the points, but today was a fairy tale for Sergio Perez. Verstappen finishes in 2nd, which is better than revenge. 1-2 for Red Bull is nothing new. They don't have champagne problems on the podium, but the anti-hero Max Verstappen is only ahead in the Drivers' Championship by 6 points. Fernando Alonso and Taylor Swift rumors are swirling. Long live Formula One. Max Verstappen has won the Drivers' Championship, but we still have 4 races to go. In Austin, Daniel Ricciardo rides a horse named Horsey McHorseface into the paddock. Zach Brown accuses Christian Horner of cheating, and Fort Lauderdale's own Logan Sargent will join Williams in 2023. During quali, Carlos Sainz takes the fastest lap while his teammate Charles Leclerc takes a grid penalty. Martin Brundle gets snubbed by Brad Pitt. Tim Apple doesn't know how to wave a flag. 440,000 people are at the Circuit of the Americas. It's lights out and away we go. On turn 1, Max Verstappen gets ahead of Carlos Sainz, and Sainz tries to recover, but gets hit by George Russell. The Spaniard is out of the race before the 1 lap is even over, and Russell takes a 5-second penalty. Valtteri Bottas' race ends early, and a safety car helps out Charles Leclerc for once. Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll get in a massive collision, and debris is everywhere. Lewis Hamilton, on hard tires, leads the race with 10 laps to go, but the Flying Dutchman cannot be beat this year. It's Verstappen, Hamilton, and Leclerc. Sebastian Vettel battles to the finish in his final USGP. Baby Lando finishes 6th, and Yuki gets a point. Red Bull wins the Constructors' Championship for the first time in 10 years, a day after their founder's passing. People are crying, there's champagne flowing, fireworks are popping off. Everything is bigger in Texas, Dan, except for F1 drivers.
Yes, it's time for the F1 minute here, even though I want to hear that sound
gave it
again.
away?
Je suis stressé pour les minutes de Formula 1. J'ai besoin d'énergie. Énergie.
Let's go, energy.
Oh,
energy.
Bonjour et bienvenue à Circuit Powercar pour le Grand Prix de France. Les températures élevées sur le circuit signifient que la gestion des tuyaux va être essentielle. Charles Leclerc, le pilote automobile monégasque, fait face à Max Verstappen pour la première place. Le pilote Ferrari doit gagner pour rester dans les championnats. Mais non! Quelle horreur! Une catastrophe! Sacré bleu! Charles Leclerc sort de la course! Encore de la malchance! Il est fini! Une honte! Max Verstappen prend une grosse avance. Lewis Hamilton, le pilote Mercedes, est 12e. Carlos Sainz, l'autre pilote Ferrari, a commencé à la 19e place, tout sa pénalité pour le changement du moteur. Il est roue contre roue avec Sergio Perez, mais l'imbécile de chez Ferrari recommence. Max Verstappen a fini premier de la course. Carlos Sainz est le pilote toujours. Lando, l'enfant Norris, a terminé 7e. Lance Stroll a terminé avec un point. Félicitations, Mike Crack.
Huh?
Wow! Oh my God!
Holy shit! Holy shit!
Merci.
Oh my God! Was there an imbecile in there? Did you say
Les
imbecile?
imbéciles de chez Ferrari recommencent.
That sounded so exciting. I have no idea what happened.
Les pauvres Charles Leclerc, les pauvres.
My God, that was incredible.
That was
I
really
am
good.
so jealous that you
Merci
can do that.
Christophe, merci Guillermo.
Well, the music ran out, but I think you should, because we didn't have an F1 minute today. I think you should give people a Lord of the Rings minute. Yes, I think you should give people.
Spoiler alert or no spoiler
Dangerous
alert?
game, man.
Dangerous game because of what?
To us, you can spoil as much as you want. So I say go for as many spoilers as you like.
All right, I'll give a spoiler of what happened at the end of the last
Hold on.
episode.
Let me get you
Hold up.
music.
It was insane. Okay, so spoiler. Do not listen if you don't want to know what happened in the last episode of The Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. So Galadriel and Halbrand, who everyone thinks might be Sauron, they go from Numenor back to Middle-earth, and they're in the Southlands. And the guy who's like the head elf of the Southlands, who's trying to help protect all the people who are getting invaded by the ORC army, they're trying to figure out how to get the orcs to go away, the ORC army, and to get free of them. And right now, a lot of people are calling it Before-Dor. We think they're in Mordor before it becomes Mordor, before Mount Doom erupts. Interesting, because there's been a mountain that they've shown a couple times in different scenes throughout the series, right? So we're like, okay, how are the people going to defeat the orcs? Because the orcs, the ORC army, they're badasses, and they have this guy who's a leader, and his name's Adar, which means father. And we're like, maybe he's Sauron. But he's trying to get this thing that looks like a sword, but it's actually like kind of a key, and it looks like it's in the shape of Mordor. So he's trying to get that, and this little kid Theo has it, and his mom Bronwyn is in charge of all these people. So they trap the orcs inside the Elven Tower, and then the orcs come to the town, the ones that survive, and it looks like the people...
This episode is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
I probably have been a bit negligent in not talking more because we spent 4 hours talking about it last night, sort of, kind of. But the Pacers are up 2-1. They've only led for 11% of the time in the series, like 20 minutes. They'd be the first champions in NBA history that weren't a top 3 seed or the defending champs. The Thunder had 16 assists, 19 turnovers. This is a historically great team. Assist to turnover, and that's their worst of the season. It's the second time all year they have failed to have more assists than turnovers in a game. And that was done to them, by the way. That's Indiana defense. I don't know what we were talking about all season, but it wasn't, hey, what are Nembhard and Nesmith going to do to the MVP when he needs to be bothered a little bit? And you have perimeter defense that is like, oh, we weren't talking about that much at all. We were saying Lou Dort does that stuff, but we weren't talking about Indiana's perimeter players that aren't Halliburton bothering the holy hell out of the MVP of the league, who can go 30 points every time, no problem, until, oh, these guys bother everyone. These guys, these perimeter defenders bother all players of all sizes.
The Thunder made one field goal in the last 5 minutes and 57 seconds of that game. Whoa. And it wasn't like they were missing good shots. This is a false narrative that Indiana was some finesse team. The defense they play is absolutely on par with the Thunder defense, which is historic by every metric.
Well, and what's crazy about that is it's in large part because they haven't let Oklahoma City force turnovers themselves and get out on the run to be able to get their offense going. So you're defending them in the half court, late in games and close games. That's not a situation that Oklahoma City has been in a lot this season. And when no one else can score, Shea needs to be able to take over, get to the line. That's what you've seen him do all the time. But in the final stretch of that game, he was 1 of 2 from the field after Tyrese Halliburton came back in with 6:50 to go, and they ran away with it after it was a tie game. So it's unbelievably impressive, their ability to just exchange anybody for each other and attack the same way.
I was startled, and I don't know how sports shocks come to you, but I was startled by OKC being manhandled physically. I just wasn't expecting to see that. It's not something I've seen a lot of this season. And Nembhard looks small to me. It doesn't seem to me that Nembhard should be that kind of perimeter defender. He doesn't look to me like Dort. He doesn't look to me like Neesmith.
Well, NBA casual over here that doesn't watch a regular season. Rick Carlisle changed his defense. The swarming double teams, the traps. I thought this guy was a zone guy. I mean, it's the way that this defense swarmed ball handlers for OKC. It seems like OKC was wholly unprepared for it last night, and no ball movement because it's like, what is this? We're up. They're using the out of bounds to force turnovers and to get OKC out of their game. It's been very effective, and you got to wonder if they have an answer for it.
We spent a lot of time last night during the Pacers game talking about the Knicks. Sam Morril was boycotting the Pacers games. And Mero was saying that they think that the Knicks think the Pistons are the best team they face.
Didn't they say the Magic, too? They were saying some crazy shit.
I appreciated the hating-ass haters.
Okay, so the Pacers are in the Pacers are in the championship round, but we spent some time talking about the Knicks, and the Knicks have a genuine mess in their coaching search. Like it is a public apocalypse.
This story, the vibes of that team going from the happiest bing bongs to the saddest bing bongs. This is about as quick as I've ever seen a flip. You have articles coming out 45 minutes after they get eliminated, eviscerating Towns and Thibodeau. Thibodeau gets fired. Sam Amico reports that people are actually now mad at Rick Brunson. And they have reached out to 5 coaches. None of them have even gotten permission to talk to them. Quinn Snyder, Ime Udoka, Billy Donovan, Chris Finch, and Jason Kidd. I feel like we're careening towards something where Chris Paul is the coach of the Knicks, which is a legitimate thing that people are starting to banter
All right,
about.
well, we bring in our favorite New York correspondent now to talk about this and other things because, and I, by the way, don't let me get out of here today without sort of annoying Jessica with Mike going back to what Jeremy's atrocious Heat take was, because I don't want to leave that unargued. I'd like Jessica to hear whatever final thoughts you guys have on the Heat season here, because I know she misses that. But welcome into Knicks Talk, Jessica. What kind of suffering is it right now in New York to be a Knicks fan?
Well, first I want to say the Pacers need better branding on their defense. If we had something like the torture chamber for the Pacers, I think we would be giving them more respect. Second, I feel like this validates my we'll see take last week, I should say, of the Knicks firing Tibbs, because if it was we'll see, we don't have a next guy up, then maybe that wasn't the best choice, and this seems like James Dolan meddling.
How about that one, what she's saying right there? Like that, there's no conclusion to be drawn here other than, hey, look, the Knicks were well managed for a while there, and then they botched this one. They botched this one because the owner came in, swooped in, and there wasn't a plan. It's just get rid of this guy, the best guy we've had since Pat Riley.
I wish Stugotz was here so we could be like, hey, so what happened to that Danny Hurley take last week? Haven't seen his name in this yet.
Oh, he's going to pop up. His agent's going to come around trying to get him a raise. This is a wonderful.
Stu or Dan Hurley?
Both. But this is a perfect opportunity for Dan Hurley to pop up. Like, okay, looks like you got a mess over there. Here's a big sexy name. Let me get a raise over at UConn because I don't want to actually leave.
Chris Paul, Charlie.
Yeah, that's inspired.
I think it'd be a good hire.
It's the only sport that I think where that feels like some. I guess baseball maybe also, but it doesn't feel as outrageous. Like a guy walking off of the football field right into a head coaching job feels like insanity to me. But
No, it does. No, wait a minute.
I guess
Look,
basketball had player coaches.
No, so help you guys are all going to have to help me with this one because no, Chris Paul is not qualified for that job. I understand that we're doing this differently now.
Hold on, you're sounding a lot like somebody else I know.
The fake Dan? Charlie's fake Dan? Because I was like,
Guys,
once he said, help
no.
me out with this one, I'm like, okay, write that one down. He does that a lot.
You guys can't do the vibes were really off in that first segment. It was weird. Okay, we need to reset the vibes. I'm here to reset the vibes.
Thank you for
because
agreeing with
it
me.
started out. No, you're 100% the
Shock.
reason why the vibes were so bad. You are so mean to Roy, and if I were there,
she's a union rep.
I would grab you by the shoulders and shake you.
Yeah.
Because that was uncalled for. Roy is
Thanks for your
welcome to
buy-in,
vote in
Jess.
whatever professional hockey association
Oh,
he's part of.
he's a
he doesn't have to
writer
be.
now.
He doesn't have to
Okay.
write for an outlet full time.
Don't give
If
Roy
they
a
deem him
participation
member,
trophy.
he's a
Stop.
member.
Stop. It's
You're
a
jealous.
participation trophy.
I
Earned, not given. Earned, not given.
Jessica, I'm glad you brought this back. I had a question that I wanted to ask Mike that I didn't get a chance to ask earlier because we got off of it. But Roy can be in a writers association because he wrote one column. Can you be a golden cane if you ain't never caned one cane?
Oh no!
I don't even understand.
Oh, he's
And-
coming to your most
and number-
sensitive spot.
You like it, Jess? You like the question?
And also, you changed history because you became a writer before you actually wrote, which was a proper question to ask.
But
It's
he
like,
did write tweets. We all agree on that.
Well, then I'm a writer too.
Okay, cool.
And then
Well,
you're a
apply,
writer. I'm a
apply,
writer. You're a writer.
apply.
We're all you get a writer. You get a writer. You get a writer.
apply.
Can I add something to this?
No, not yet, Roy. I'm sorry. We are not going to let Mike get away without speaking for his caning.
Okay. I'm just saying I covered the team since 2016 as a credentialed media member.
You heard it? No, Roy, you got it.
Reggaeton song?
Ra-ta-ta-ta, he wasn't writing. He wasn't writing.
See, Roy,
wasn't writing.
I'll teach you this trick. You just got to hit a rap ad lib after you dunk on somebody.
Hey, don't
So-
speak for Roy, okay? How about you don't speak for Roy?
Roy
How about you don't speak for Roy?
So next time, I've been covering this.
When I
team
was a member
for
of the
20
Screen
years.
Actors Guild,
Yeah.
when I was a member of SAG, okay, I didn't.
come on.
I didn't start acting after I got the membership. I had to act a little bit,
We still ain't talked
and
about
then
this.
became a
We
screen
still have not
screen actor.
I
addressed.
feel like Mike's helping.
We still have not addressed.
Jessica.
Very rude of you to speak for Roy.
I'm going to have to side with Jessica on
Yeah, no
this.
shit.
You took Roy's ability to vote. We all saw it. We all saw what happened.
Everyone
there.
here is taking a really difficult stance. I really appreciate it. You guys are great.
Jessica, I miss you.
This is the first day that I don't.
All right, so Jessica, can you make a ruling on Roy's clean-shaven face during the playoffs, wherever impartiality resides, wherever it is that hygiene exists? Roy is against superstition. He is doing something that is as sacrilegious as touching the cup the way that Edmonton did before this series. He has shaved his playoff beard during the playoffs and during a historic Panther run. What do you make of the idea that Roy has blasphemed against all superstition?
I mean, I think Roy can do whatever Roy wants to do, and you all need to stop telling Roy what he can and cannot do because I don't like the way that this is coming off right now. Roy is a grown-ass man, and if he gets allowed to vote in some Pro Hockey Writers Association organization, he should do that, and everyone should keep their opinions to themselves.
Thank you, Jessica.
Mike clearly doesn't think you should vote at all.
Yeah. Always keeping me on my heels, Jess. Appreciate that.
And while I'm pissed off, give me your stupid thing, Jeremy. What is your Heat thing?
Oh, his take that pissed us off? We had to remind him of it because he got caught up in the air. Remember when he got jealous of the Panthers and said we all jumped ship?
Well, you did.
We didn't jump ship
You all
when
abandoned
things
the Heat
got
the
hard.
the moment
They were
things
in the
got
finals
hard.
at
It
the
was
exact
we're
same
only
time.
Panthers fans. We're going to throw all of our energy into this. We're not going to watch regular season basketball.
See what I mean?
The franchises failed them.
see your
We're
papers.
so bored.
All right, I'm a little worried about everything over here. In this
Okay, the
corner.
vibes are still bad, Dan.
Well, help me with this. So I need culture change around here. I asked Dominique for help with it. At the moment, what I don't need to happen is for Jeremy and Mike to scream at each other about the Heat because Mike's upset about being called a racist who didn't want Roy to vote in the first hour. Fairly.
No, I'm cool with that.
I'm gonna have to get Jesse up in here, man. We're gonna march on him.
But you did look at Jeremy and all of that hostility, and you said your atrocious heat take. And when I looked at Jeremy,
Which one?
Yes, this is the delight that swept over me as I looked at Jeremy there, and I saw in his face that could be any number of things.
It's everything I've said to him for 2.5 years. Yeah,
going through the Rolodex.
The best part was Jeremy was like, "Which one of my awful takes?"
And so Jessica, for 4 years, was stuck between whatever that is for 2.5 years.
I was still right about the power of friendship thing. That's what the Pacers said worked for them.
Okay, so
But it didn't work for the Heat. And your take was that the power of friendship was going to spur the Miami Heat to the playoffs or something. But then
Yeah,
Jimmy Butler happened.
I said before the season that Jimmy Butler was in a good place. That's on me.
Well, what is his atrocious Heat take, Mike? Because you just screamed at each other.
He was like reveling in the Panthers running into a difficult time because we all jumped ship and quit on the Miami Heat. Let me get one thing perfectly straight here. I've been keeping it real about the Miami Heat. Just because I've been keeping it real about the Miami Heat and they decided to acquire Terry Rozier doesn't mean I quit on them. They quit on me. They quit on culture. They quit on everything that they put on the inside of that paint on that court. They had a superstar take their franchise hostage, and Pat Riley, the age of Joe Biden, make things worse and diminish an asset when his job is to increase the value of that asset and maximize the return. The defense rests, show me your papers.
So this is kind of what I was talking about.
Okay. No, that's
Old
not.
ass Joe Biden not looking so bad right now either, huh?
Okay. All right. Let's. You guys with this ageism. I want to go back to last night. A couple of clips from last night because my father was translating reggaeton lyrics, and I just want to go to this very quickly because I believe that if my father showed up at a soccer game this weekend in Miami, he would be asked to show his papers because he doesn't necessarily look like he's from this country and he doesn't sound like he's from this country. And while we're joking about show me your papers, this is a legitimate thing, right?
But he's an American. He's got nothing to worry about. They got that express lane for people that are just American.
But we're going to now just racially profile with state militia outside of soccer game, right? That we're warning people that is what's headed to sports here as we try to keep politics out of games. It's going to be, hey, the same stadium where you've seen the video of brown people climbing through the stadium architecture and tunnels in the roofs and air conditioning.
You know who's actually happy about this is the Hard Rock Stadium security detail. They're like, okay, anything goes sideways here, it's on the administration, Homeland Security, and ICE.
That overhead visual of seeing people being separated into lines as they march through armed security guards is going to be something to behold.
This is not your country, and a lot of people that are happy about what's going on, that voted for it, it's going to turn once someone asks them for their papers and makes their relationship with sports wholly different than it's ever been before.
Let's laugh at my father, shall we?
Te suelto el pelo.
I will let your hair loose.
Te quito la camisa.
I will take off your shirt, dog.
Tu pantalón.
Oh, you're also your panties.
No, it's not the panties. No. That's incorrect. That is not correct. No.
It's a 2-for-1 there, Dano. Come on, it's a 2-for-1. Pantalón.
No.
Pantalón, okay.
I really don't understand.
It's slacks.
They were slacks. No, take off your slacks.
I'll take off his slacks.
That is the age of Joe Biden, and he turned pantalones, clearly the word for pants in Spanish, into panties for some reason.
Tomato.
It's not the same thing.
Tomato, potato.
But it feels like ageism to me to be doing what you just did, the age of Joe Biden. You want to apologize for that?
He's older, and he's doing things that feel like they're from a bygone era, and a lot of people say Pat Riley has the game passed him by. I'm not in that camp, but I would say what happened with Jimmy Butler is a pretty solid example if you wanted to make that argument. Tell me when I'm telling a lie.
Jeremy, your atrocious take. You want to defend any of the others? Like
no.
you just seem defeated.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I mean, as much as I want to, have this spark with Mike and feud over these things, at this point, I'm in my 30s. I don't need this anymore. Not that type of smoke. It's okay. We can agree to disagree. I got caught up in the air, and I apologize for saying that I was enjoying watching the Florida Panthers struggle a bit, because you know what? I love the team from Broward County that actually represents my county. And it's beautiful to have a team like that have success.
That's mighty big of you. I love it when someone admits defeat. Thank you.
Jessica, I was wondering if you could get us caught up, please, because I don't have enough expertise in everything that's happening in the business of NIL and where it is that leaders in that sport are stumbling around trying to make rules as we go, create a system as we go. The NCAA house settlement, can you walk me through some of the particulars here of what we're headed toward? Because I think you, Lucy, and Mike have done a good job sort of exploring the business of this, which has confounded me as it's changed over the last 5 years.
Yeah, so this is the settlement that has been expected to come down through the courts for like the last year. So it's the $20 million that schools are not going to be able to pay players directly through the athletic departments. And I'm glad you brought up the Golden Canes, Dominique, because one of the things that I've been thinking now that this house settlement has finally come through. So one of the aspects of this is, all the back pay. That's sort of what the settlement's for. It's like $2.8 billion for former athletes. And then the frameworks being set up for the future and how these payments are going to be split. One of the things is that they're setting up this, NIL clearinghouse. NIL Go is going to be the name of the software. And I guess Deloitte is overseeing the approval of NIL deals now, because what the schools don't want, so they claim, is these NIL collectives to essentially be paying for play, which is what's been happening over the last 3 years. And obviously there's like a lot of gray area between what's pay for play and what is, a player's market value once they go to a school and become a famous person on that campus or in that community, et cetera. So this NIL clearinghouse will be dictating deals over $600, whether or not they'll pass. And so my question through all this, one, the big question is like, what does this mean for Title IX? And that hasn't really been addressed yet. That'll probably come through lawsuits that I assume will be filed in the future. But the second thing is like, if now there's this clearinghouse for big NIL deals, why not just pay players under the table again? Why not just bring back the bag men? Why wouldn't I just Venmo or Zelle Jeremiah Love $50,000 and not even pretend to do the like legitimized NIL collective thing anymore? Like I don't really see why cheating isn't all the way back now, but I guess Mike, as a Golden Cane, you can probably tell us a little bit about maybe some of your fears of enforcement, because there is going to be this College Sports Commission that is allegedly going to be investigating these things. It just seems like, I don't know, it seems like this hasn't been tested yet. So if I'm a college football program, I'm probably going to be like, don't, here's NIL money, or I'm not even going to say like what this payment's for, just like accept this payment and you're on our team now.
Well, the good news is that people in charge in terms of enforcing this are going to be the SEC and the Big Ten. So we can trust them and their judgment. The NCAA has got a pretty sweet deal. Lose all the cases in court, never win one, get full autonomy, and don't even actually have to enforce your rules. Just sit back and get the revenue, all while this is passed through the Senate. And you're granted full autonomy, so no one can actually challenge you in courts. And despite this being illegal, when has that mattered right now over the last few months? So they're going to get their way. Donald Trump was seen golfing with Notre Dame's athletic director, which I'm curious what his angle was on it. And Greg Sankey, obviously, we know what he's been pushing for. So it'll be curious. I don't know if it's going to be around for long. I think this is all headed towards Super League. And unfortunately, the only way that you get any kind of fairness here would be through something that's collectively bargained. There isn't a union for student athletes. And look at how difficult it is for the NFL to keep a work stoppage because you have guys coming in making less money than everybody else. You don't have generational wealth for college athletes. If you decide to threaten the season for revenue generators, you've got zero money now. people will cave and crack. And you don't just worry about the football players or the basketball players. You got golfers. You got rowers. So the NCAA was very smart in to get a former politician to just politic his way to a dub when they've been handed L after L after L. Hopefully, college football gets siloed off. I think we're headed towards private equity anyways. And then you could probably have a real collective bargaining agreement, at least with football players.
All right, put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Are you excited that college football is headed toward private equity?
They've been. Private equity
know,
firms have been talking to these programs for like 5 years.
It's just, I mean, come on. Come on. Yes, okay, but it's just funny to see it that professionalized where, there's so much money and no rules. Let's go feed. Let's go feed there. Like it's not funny, but it is. You mentioned Trump. Wasn't he at a play recently near you, Jessica? Wasn't
a play? Shame on you. He was at Les Mis, Dan, and I don't want to make light of anything that this administration's doing because it's horrifying. But he was asked at the Kennedy Center if he was more of a Javert or a Valjean, and Donald Trump was like, "Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know," and he didn't answer because he claims that he's seen Les Mis before, but he obviously hasn't because it's the easiest question in the world. I guess if you're like someone who actually still is pretending to be a good guy, because Javert is like the obsessed with this idea of like absolute justice, and he's this sadistic police inspector who's hell-bent on bringing Valjean back to prison for violating his parole, even though all Valjean did was steal a loaf of bread, Dan, for his starving sister and her children, and then served 20 years in prison, and then went on to change his identity and live a life where he's seeking forgiveness and redemption through helping this young girl, Cosette, raising her after her mother, Fantine, died, after Valjean, as the mayor of the town, accidentally allowed her to be fired from her job by the horrible foreman. I mean, it's not a difficult question, right? It's not difficult who you want to at least pretend like you are if you're a Valjean or a Javert. That shouldn't be hard to answer.
Never seen it before. That was riveting.
Well,
Thank
but
you.
Don't have to anymore.
I was backpedaling ever since her. It felt like rage to me on me merely saying that was a play. Like I felt like I'd offended her.
Dan, it's Les Mis. It's like one of the most famous musicals of all time, which, by the way, is based on the Victor Hugo novel about not the French Revolution, which is a common misconception. It's actually about the Paris Uprising in 1838, which was a group of people working class people who were upset with the monarchy and upset with inequality and injustice. And not the titular song, but like the crescendoing song of the musical, which is reprised at the end, is "Do You Hear the People Sing?" And our president watched that last night.
Out here taking notes.
Yeah. Do you think he watched, or did he just stare off into the distance, waiting for someone to mention his name?
Damn.
That was probably it. Jess, I do have a question about Formula One because I got very offended at something that is being bandied about with Formula One, and I hope I have buy-in from you. The IndyCar series has basically one race a year that everybody pays attention to. It is America's race. It is the Indy 500. And I love how Formula One approached it recently, where you have Monaco in the morning, the Indy 500 gets the biggest window in the afternoon, and then NASCAR can have theirs at night. But now the new calendar says they're going to have the Canadian Grand Prix the same weekend as the Indy 500. And correct me if I'm wrong, perhaps the same day even. So why would they do this? This is dumb, and they are not top dog in this country. I understand globally they are a force, but the TV ratings for Formula One compared to what the Indy 500 pulls in are relatively putrid. Why would they do this? This seems like a huge mistake on their part.
Yeah, I think the reason is traveling, because F1 goes from Miami to Monaco and then back to North America for Canada, I believe. So I think this was just because they are trying to cut down on like so many transatlantic flights. I don't know, Mike. I mean, the other reason could be that like a lot of motorsport media have to choose between covering, like international media have to choose between covering Indy 500 or Monaco, which is like the crown jewel of the F1 calendar, even though it's not the most important race from a racing perspective. But I don't know. The long story short is like the F1 calendar just keeps getting longer and they keep expanding to different continents and different parts of the world. And so the travel is extremely grueling. So I assume making a calendar that works for all the teams and is at least a little bit cost efficient is probably top of mind, but also they want to keep doing more races to make more money. So I don't think it's the biggest concern.
It is a track that has been covered in snow before in May as well. So that's also something to consider.
Mike, you were so much more reasonable saying this to Jessica than you were the last time you delivered this opinion where you were threatening F1 and you were saying, tread lightly, F1.
Yes.
How dare you?
That was a great clip yesterday.
Well, but you were enraged.
Rehash it?
No, I'm not asking you to rehash it, but you just presented this much more reasonably to Jessica than you did yesterday when you were ranting and railing all over the place.
Turned over a new leaf.
I think he's a little sheepish because I called him out for calling out Roy, and now he's
no one likes your trash ass sport. All right, it's fourth in ratings. All right, you don't even match the Xfinity series. In fact, you've been outrated by the Craftsman Truck Series semi-regularly. All right, stay out of North America, Jacques.
I'm not offended, and I'm Valjean, by the way. If I had to be Valjean or Javert,
I was
obviously.
I was just doing a French-Canadian version of Jack because I did Jack twice in the clip. I'm like, I should have done Jacques.
It would have been funnier, but you also unhinged, yelled, you called one of the tournaments the Cousin Bleeper 500 or whatever you did because you were just crazed.
Yes.
You were insane.
Great clip yesterday. Take notes. He's trying to make me do it again.
No, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not trying to get you to do it again. I don't have any interest in seeing him anymore. This hockey creature at the end of a finals run of 3 years of obnoxious when he cares about him more than the heat, and he's just running on a flume of adrenaline and cocaine and however good it feels to go straight from. And Jeremy, you make fun of
you could have stopped at adrenaline.
No, the whole thing.
I've never done cocaine.
No, but the cocaine
Recently.
of South Florida sports the last 5 years, 7 years, where you could just jump from the heat over to the Panthers and escape all the flames from the heat. Leave Jeremy in your wake, charred.
Hey, 3 years ago, they were both 8 seeds in the final. I was managing both. All right? They left. I would have been there if they were there. They drew first blood. They brought in Terry Rozier.
That's how fandom
I
works.
Stuck to my guns. I said, you acquire Terry Rozier, I'm out. Have I been back? Nope.
On the list of metaphors, is it okay to say someone is because you tried to say that you are accusing Mike of being on metaphorical cocaine. I feel like if you're gonna metaphorical something, you can't coke, my man.
No,
you gotta
I don't do cocaine. I've never done it. Now, if it were in an edible form, perhaps I would.
Yeah, that's a big hurdle. Like sniffing something is a normal. Like injecting and sniffing, huge drug hurdles.
Mm-hmm.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Would you more readily do edible cocaine?
Oh, God. We could probably leave that one off.
Can I ask a food question to the group?
Yes, of course.
So people send me recipes all the time because they know that I like to bake. And someone sent me one of the most offensive things that I've ever seen probably in my life the other day. And I'll say this. It was a food in popsicle form. And I think probably one of the worst foods you could put in popsicle form. And I am struggling to think of another food that would be worse as a popsicle.
Really?
That is a cold food.
Should we guess? Should we guess?
Yeah, you can guess.
But like
any
tripe?
hot food, I don't think counts.
Lasagna.
I don't think, no, like hot food doesn't make sense. It's something that you would eat cold that you would make into a popsicle. Because obviously, like baked beans popsicles, yeah, that's disgusting. Like we all agree. But no, it's a cold food that's like in popsicle form for a cookout. Someone sent this to me.
Okay, so let's discuss this and another thing because I need to get a verdict from you on a couple of things. Gazpacho, is that a soup? Is it?
Yes, I love gazpacho. It's delicious.
Okay, so
is it a soup? Is the question.
Let's see if it's in my soup book.
Okay. Oh wow!
That's a
look at
big
that.
ass
She's
book.
a prop comic.
Steve Martin also.
So wait a minute. So you have a soup book.
Sweeney Todd Playbill in the soup book. Wow.
Well, but we were
the shave of the face, the trim of the beard.
That's
Like
funny. I
Roy.
don't get the reference, but it's still funny.
I can't believe you can't go clean shaven. You can't shave at a face during the Stanley Cup
I
final.
bet
What are we
Roy.
doing?
I bet Roy did it and then was like, shit.
He's just starting.
And now he has
hair and trying to stick it back on his
And
face.
now he's just doubling down because that's Roy.
Dribble the beard.
Top 5 soups, top 5 plays.
No, I don't want top 5 soups. I thought
Musicals?
I thought I was in the majority, and I thought the voting came back to endorse me and support me. Yeah. A soup has to be warm. What do
Are
you
you a child? What do you mean a soup has to be warm?
a soup? When I think of soup, it is something that has to be consumed warm, and I don't think I'm in the minority in having that opinion.
Ooh, what about this basil vichyssoise?
Huh? An olive popsicle would be pretty terrible.
Ooh, that's gross. But what if it's like a dirty martini popsicle? That would
back.
be delicious.
I'm
But
back.
you can't freeze vodka, so that wouldn't work.
Your choices have been very poor so far. The olive and the lasagna. I chose tripe, a fish.
I see you, minestrone.
It can't be something warm. It has to be cold.
Deli meat?
I think
Gazpacho popsicle actually would be kind of good as I think about it.
No.
I kind of think I'm realizing.
Feel you, broccolina.
Deli meat's a good one, actually, Jeremy.
Some
That's
cold cut
maybe
turkey popsicle.
your best comment of the day. Mm.
I'm realizing.
Okay, I'll just tell you guys what it was.
Wasn't a high
It
bar.
was coleslaw. It was a coleslaw popsicle.
Cabbage and mayonnaise. Oof.
Yeah, that's unpleasant.
Should I make it?
Yeah, you gotta make it.
Do you want any part of? I was asking people the other day. I don't know whether you would want the challenge of this because baking isn't the same. But I'd like Greg Cody to lose another one of these. He's lost all of his challenges, all of his cook-offs, but I believe he might be able to win one with this sausage and lentil soup of his. Does anyone around here want to challenge him? Roy, I thought you might be interested. He's done nothing but lose these food competitions. Is anyone that want any part of this?
I'll challenge his soup. I can make a good soup.
You're going to challenge him?
What's that supposed to mean?
Yeah, that was very dismissive.
Well, just he's
Your
never.
voice
he-
got really.
Show me
You're
your
gonna
papers?
do it?
Yeah,
Show me your papers.
feels like it. It also feels like Dan is asking Gazpacho, show him his papers.
It is.
It kind of feels like you want Gazpacho out of the soup society.
You know what? Never mind. I don't want to partake in your little soup thing.
Oh.
I was yes-anding. And he was like, you?
no,
Why?
Okay.
You
That
shan't.
reaction you had to Mike was odd.
You don't think I make a soup, pal?
I didn't think. Look, Greg Cody's sausage and lentil soup is well made by somebody who does have cooking ability. He's lost all his cooking challenges, but I believe he cooks this better than anyone. And you've never once mentioned to anyone I can remember that you like cooking.
If you follow me on social media, I'm the king of soup.
I don't follow you
I
on
am.
social
Just
media.
Gotta
He's
get
big
behind
on
that paywall
soups.
first.
I'm a big soup
He's big
guy.
on soups. I found the chilled soup section of the soup book finally. I
Oh,
thought it would be
chapter.
in the front.
Give us all
It's
the
at
chilled
end.
soups. Let's prove Dan wrong.
dare
Once
Okay,
and
so
for
the
all.
first one that I see here is gazpacho with parsley oil.
They're
Sounds
just- they're
delicious.
just trolling Dan.
No, but this
Chilled
is the thing.
avocado soup with crab.
In
Ooh.
on it.
Dominic asked me
Chilled
yesterday.
mango and coconut curry
He
soup.
asked me,
Dan,
what's
do you want
borscht?
me to name the soups or not? Okay, you keep interrupting.
Get his ass.
Chilled saffron and almond soup. Ooh, interesting. What
Seems
else do we have
refreshing.
here? These all sound refreshing. Curried yogurt soup. That sounds delicious.
A cold soup that's not refreshing would be odd. Yeah.
It's true.
Like, can we name one of those?
Cold and spicy.
Chilled pea soup. Golden gazpacho. Oh, sounds delicious.
Chilled
strawberry and tomato gazpacho.
Jess, you got to lay out in between these. Let us get in here. A little commentary. Silence.
Red bell pepper soup with sambuca cream.
Then you didn't get in there. She left your window to get in there.
We're doing jump
Get in
rope,
there.
Dominique. Jump in. I mean, Jesus.
Don't tell someone to double dutch. Just let them double dutch. We covered this yesterday.
Double Dutch bus.
Vichyssoise.
Jessica, nice seeing you.
Chilled watermelon and cherry soup.
I think I could be convinced on that coleslaw popsicle.
Is that Tony
No.
Romo?
How is that? I mean, coleslaw is cold usually. So it being in a popsicle doesn't shock me all that much. You got to go something that is predominantly hot to shock
Strawberry consomme. Baby.
Thank you. Excellent dismount. We will talk to you soon.
Nah,
The
I hope not.
chilled.
Thanks, guys, again for your help. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
the chilled pea soup segment.
Doesn't sound refreshing, actually. That's the one.
No, see, I wouldn't have that, and this is the breaking point for me on this, because you guys are making me the weirdo, because I'm saying I believe the majority think of soup as being a warm thing.
Yes, but it doesn't mean they cease being soup.
I understand that, and Greg Cody trapped me masterfully like a chess master the other day. So he's like, is split pea a soup? And I'm like, yes, of course. And he's like, what if I take it out of the fridge? Is it still a soup? If I put it on the table, is it still a soup if it gets cold? If I put it in the fridge, excuse me. And I'm like, okay, yes, it's still a soup. But I don't want to have it cold. I only want to have soup warm, and I think of soups as warm. Why is she calling me a child, and why are you guys making me feel like I'm not in the majority on this?
Split pea soup in particular, because my dad has made it a bunch, when it's refrigerated, becomes like a Jell-O. It's one of those soups that it's congealed, and then once you microwave it, it becomes a soup again. But cold, it is
cold.
Gross.
It's awful.
If you are soupy, you are a soup. Doesn't matter if you are cold or hot. Just like if you've written an article, you're a writer.
Carnival. So welcome back, Billy, and I don't know where this particular tension is going to end up. Welcome back, and I also want to get to Mike Ryan. He does not agree with you on Hard Knocks, Chris. He doesn't.
Oh, trust me. We had a whole text exchange last night. I almost drove to his house to fight him.
Yeah, you guys have very wildly disparate opinions on the Oakland Raiders and Hard Knocks. But first, Billy, welcome back. How was your honeymoon?
It was good. Thank you for asking.
Oh, he's tightened up his game now that he's refreshed. Okay, things are
it's
just
so hot today, Dan. I don't know what's going on with the air, but luckily I have this little fan that I bought before a hurricane that I have plugged into my phone, so like it's keeping me nice and cool.
I'm so jealous.
You guys should get these.
Yeah.
These things are awesome. Look at it, Dan. You see this thing? Look at this.
Can you please tell me about all the awkward things that happened to you? Did anything weird happen to you in Barbados? Like what kind of, just give me some awkward Billy on his honeymoon stuff. Is there anything that...
The non-awkward would be a much shorter story.
Yeah, I wonder how this is going to go. What's the best you got from your honeymoon? And then we'll move on to other things like Antonio trying to steal your job.
I've had a lot of awkwardness, well, in my entire life, I guess. But recently I've had a bunch of awkwardness. So I'd say from the honeymoon, I think the most memorable thing that we did was, so in Barbados, they have an annual carnival, right? Or carnival or whatever, right? It's called Crop Over. And it's at the end, well, it's actually called Kadooment, but that's a different story.
All right, go sit outside for a second. We'll get back to it.
Whoa!
Antonio, just go sit in his chair. We'll get back to it.
I'm back, baby.
I want to hear the whole story. I just don't understand why you can't even get the name right of Carnival. And like,
it's Crop Over. That's fine.
Why is it called a honeymoon?
It's a good question.
That is a good question. Put it on the poll, Antonio, now that you've replaced Billy in his chair. Do you know why they call it a honeymoon? Mike, do you have the sound? A very simple sound, a very simple question. Basically, I want you to hear Billy, who has a reputation for yammering and just not being able to get anything out, and he's rusty, because he hasn't been paying attention to the internet for 10 days. So he came in here today, and it was just a furnace blast of news, all of it weird, disorienting. The local hour has gone someplace else.
We showed him Antonio Brown's feet.
Yeah, like he's missed a lot. I'm actually scared when I disappear for my honeymoon. I'm going to come back and I feel like things are just going to be gone. There's the possibility like the shipping container room just floated off into the Atlantic Ocean.
We're still not out of hurricane season.
Yeah, I am going to fall it's very easy to fall very, very far behind, very fast when it comes to the amount of stimulation and news and sports stuff that you are getting. Billy was off the grid. He comes back. Everything's changed except his inability to say anything quickly. So
he's white now.
Everything is different. Like you
That's the most efficient you've ever been.
Yes. Look at that. Did you learn something on your honeymoon? Okay, so lest you think he has cured his ills of not being efficient, please play for the audience. This is Billy Rusty returning from his honeymoon. Just him simply trying to say where he was.
I've had a lot of awkwardness, well, in my entire life, I guess. But recently I've had a bunch of awkwardness. So I'd say from the honeymoon, I think the most memorable thing that we did was, so in Barbados, they have an annual carnival, right? Or carnival or whatever, right? It's called Crop Over. And it's at the end, well, it's actually called Kadooment. But that's
for the love of God. All right, go sit outside for a second. We'll get back to it. Whoa! You would have kept going. You would have given it 20 names if I didn't cut you off and kick you out. You would have given it 20 names. Actually, the roots of the word come from the 1700s and indigenous people.
I was upset you did that to Billy his first day back, but hearing it back, he absolutely deserved it.
Again, yes. I want you to hear again, just Mike, the last part of it, where he's simply trying to say, Billy is simply trying to tell us, this is a very simple transaction. Hey, Billy, where were you? What were you doing? He got snagged and stuck on where were you?
I've had a lot of awkwardness, well, in my entire life, I guess. But recently I've had a bunch of awkwardness. So I'd say from the honeymoon, I think the most memorable thing that we did was, so in Barbados, they have an annual carnival, right? Or carnival or whatever, right? It's called Crop Over. And it's at the end, well, it's actually called Kadooment, but that's a different story.
All right, go sit outside for How do I not get frustrated with that? Like, I missed it for 10 days, but I don't miss it anymore.
Those are important details.
I normally don't hear, but I heard it.
All right, start again then. And real quick, Mike, just the short version. Billy being asked, where were you, Billy, on your honeymoon? This is a simple question. It gets a simple response in most circumstances, unless you're talking to Billy.
So in Barbados, they have an annual carnival, right? Or carnival or whatever, right? It's called Crop Over. And it's at the end, well, it's actually called Kadooment, but that's a different story.
All right, Billy, we've established where you are and what it's called, kind of. Now, proceed.
All right, so this is how it works. Crop Over is like a couple months long, and Kadooment is like the grand finale, and it's like a carnival type thing, and you guys will see from time to time, every once in a while, Rihanna will go back to Barbados, and she'll be like parading in the streets.
Dominique, our next guest here, Mark Kriegel, is one of the best. He's the foremost boxing writer in America, but for a long time, he has been one of the best sports writers in America. He's currently a boxing analyst for ESPN, and like the best sports writers, he gravitates toward the boxers because they're weird and fascinating and often vulnerable, publicly courageous. And his latest book, Baddest Man, The Making of Mike Tyson, is available now. And this writer with this project, I'm fascinated by Tyson because I just think he's the most interesting athlete of my time for a lot of different reasons. Just interesting. And it's at least in part because he'd reveal himself to you and is somebody that was more comfortable in prison than outside of it. Didn't want to leave prison when he got to prison because prison had more order. And I'm just sure that Kriegel has found 1,000 things about this man's life because he's one of the best reporters, too, that there's been. So, Mark, thank you for joining us. And just start us here on, like, you tackled this project because I imagine you, too, find him more interesting than anyone else you've covered.
I tackled this project because I owed the publisher money, and he broached the idea of Tyson. And my first thought was, like, what body part would I rather impale than revisit all the crap I wrote in the 90s and the schmuck I was back then and, you know, in large measure who he was back then. And I started to think about it. And, you know, no writer wants to give back money. But the more I thought about it.
Love you.
No, hey, man, you know that. The more I thought about it, the more I came to consider him not by who he had knocked out or all the stuff he had talked, but by what he had survived. And by that measure, I got to love the guy I'm writing about if I'm going to live with him for a biography. And by that measure, what he had survived to me was monumental and a sign of virtue. I mean, booze, coke, the death of a mother, the absence of a father, a neighborhood in Brownsville that, like, calling it a ghetto to me seems entirely insufficient. It was a full-on dystopia. Molestation, incarceration as a juvenile, and this is largely, you talk about wanting to remain locked up. This is largely a tale of incarceration, especially juvenile incarceration. He was locked up as an adult, obviously, as a kid. He survived boxing. And one of the reasons we are drawn, those of us who love melodrama, to boxing is because the third act is inevitably the tragedy. And it's the noir, and it's the reveal, and it's the curse. The odd thing about Tyson is that he turned the third act around. The third act has become like the most unlikely triumph I've ever seen. The book opens with him watching his daughter play tennis. I should say also that he survived the death of a child, which I don't know how the hell you do that. But and I'm thinking about him watching his kid play tennis, and what he's actually done is he's outpaced our capacity to imagine him. Like, who the hell could have imagined Mike Tyson watching his kid play tennis in Dana Point? I couldn't. You know, I don't.
We've lost him.
I lost his sound there for a second. Mark, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry.
Okay, no, that's okay. We'll have a clean edit there.
Where'd you lose me?
We're live.
No, we're live. It's okay. Coach,
That's what I figured.
Can you help me can you take me through a little bit about what it is that you would say to others is most interesting about Mike Tyson, if you can only select a thing or two?
Mm-hmm. Dan, I'm not BSing, but in 2019, you did an interview with him that begins with the DMT and the toad, and it seems like it's going to be a goof, this hallucinogen, and he talks about the death of the ego. And fighters need that ego, especially to play the role he did, heavyweight champion of the world, and a particular kind of champion. But this is a story set into motion largely by the trainer's ego in Cus D'Amato. And I think that there's something in that interview with him that you nail that goes right to the core of his being. He loves Cuss for rescuing him, but he created this ego monster. And I think in large measure, it was about Cuss's ego. And Mike pushes back on this, but he was asking a kid, 13 years old, he pulls out a lockup to make him, Cuss D'Amato, live forever.
So you're fascinated by the psychology of how people are made. You're saying that he, by environment, sort of perfectly built to both be a menace and also be conquered by an assortment of temptations.
Yeah, I mean, Cuss wanted him to be Alexander the Great, and in fact, he was. But in Tyson, he had like the perfect mound of clay, and. You know, when I mentioned this to Tyson, we had two conversations basically to establish ground rules, no more. But when I said, hey, you know, Cuss is asking you to live forever, he pushes back. He goes, well, what do you think would have become of me otherwise? And he says, well, didn't I? And in fact, he did. As long as people know Tyson's name, they will know the name of Cuss D'Amato. My question is, at what price?
How did you approach the most disturbing aspects of his life? Addiction, abuse, incarceration, rape, loss?
I mean, by accident, this book ends in '88 at the Spinks fight, which it's a term of art in boxing, fight of the century. But and it's there with Trump, it's center stage, and it's the high point of Tyson's professional career, but everything's in place for his life to fall apart. So it ends right there. And, you know, boxing's like a grand symphony of ego and narcissism. And you could see it's like the caboose or whatever it is gets all the way up to the top of the roller coaster and it's about to fall. So it ends in '88. But I don't deal with the '92 trial or anything beyond that. But it's the same way you excavate like the interior of anyone's life. I think, you know, from my perspective, the great wound, the hole that he's only recently been able to fill is his mom. You know, he has this theory about like all great conquerors, including Alexander the Great, were mama's boys. But to me, the most brutal fact of his life is that he never gets a chance to earn his mother's love or to get his mother's love. She's broken. She was broken when her man ran out, and something fractures inside of her, and the drinking picks up. And you know, Mike is a great basketball player by the name of Lloyd Daniels, you may remember, and he actually grew up next door, and was essentially a shelter for single women. He says, "Man, you know, I had it easy. I had like my alcoholic uncles and whatever else, and my grandma, but Mike's family was the street." And I think that's really the original wound with Mike, you know, and in some senses, fighters became his family. He loves fighters, but whether they're, you know, dead or alive, they're real to him.
Put it on the poll, please. Was Alexander the Great a mama's boy? And what he just described was our show when he called it a grand symphony of ego and narcissism. Boxing is what he called that, and that is also, that would be on the tombstone of our show, a grand symphony of ego and narcissism.
Thank you for the vine. Mark, I have a question that might appear like we're getting sidetracked here, but you're a member of the prestigious Boxing Writers Association of America.
Oh, no.
In 2021, you were honored with the Nat Fleischer Award. What was the criteria to enter your Writers Association? Can you just enter your Writers Association without having written anything?
I think you just need a cell phone.
Whoa!
Dude, I think you just need a cell phone at this point. It used to be the great literary sport. All you need is this piece of, you know what?
Well, that backfired.
Well, no. Hold on.
That's it. Here, I'm a boxing writer. Here.
Hold on, but you need a cell phone.
Talk about this.
Right. You need a cell phone to write.
Yeah.
So my question is,
No,
can
right,
you enter a Writers Association without actually having anything? Writing is optional. You don't actually have to get anything published to be a member of the Boxing Writers Association.
In No, I'm being facetious.
Oh, thank
but
you.
At this point, like, yes, okay, writers association.
At this point, they're
Writers
just letting
Association.
anybody in, right? At this point, they're just like letting non-writers
all
in,
right,
right?
Mike, this needs to stop right now.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry. Was I just right?
You need to.
Yes, I was.
You're not right about him not writing. He
All
did
right.
write, and the accusation is
Oh,
a
yeah,
faulty
me?
one.
Oh.
Mark, you're
a writer.
I need
You got into this writers association by doing it the
Mike,
right way.
Can we
By
explain
writing.
this to Mark?
Yeah, you got Mark.
We have someone in this show. No. Let me explain. You guys have done enough. And now that I'm right, you want to pile on. We have someone in this show that is a member of the Hockey Writers Association. My question is, I didn't know that you wrote. What did you write? I wrote an article, an op-ed for the Hockey News. All right, that makes you a writer. However, he wrote that after he was granted access into this Writers Association. He was a member of the Writers Association without having written anything. And everyone looked at me like I was crazy because I asked that question. Now, Mark, you're accomplished. And I know I don't sound crazy right now. Would you have been granted access into your illustrious Boxing Writers Association of America without having written anything yet?
I've seen it. I've seen it done. I've seen it happen.
Yes, another victory for Roy. I've seen it done.
And he's seen of it.
I think, like,
I've seen
if
of
you
it
get
done.
What do you write
times
for the
have
Hockey
changed?
News? What is that?
Because times have changed.
It can't
because
be the
standards have been
It
lowered.
can't be the Hockey News. What is that? That's offensive. You can't say.
Hold up. If you write like a,
Go ahead.
if you write something like a preseason roundup, like in the Hockey News or something in boxing, like the state of boxing writing is such that I think that you might be elevated to like Proust status.
There we go.
First okay.
All right, this is more of a state of the industry thing that I don't want to get bogged down in. Like, you got access by writing. Yeah? And I'm sorry for my tone. My back is up against the wall here. I'm being
I
framed.
walked into something I don't know, but
Yeah, that's okay. And Chris has been yelling the entire time. Explain it to him.
I'm taking this as a dub, guys. You weren't prepared for that question.
But it was
Maybe
an
I'm
L.
a writer.
All right, thank you, Mark. Sorry that we confused you. He's very interested in being.
I'm
right.
easily confused.
The last question, though. You also wrote very well a long time ago. One of the best to ever write well about Pat Riley, and I'm curious on a couple of fronts. A, how do you look back on what you wrote about Tyson in the 90s? What does that say about who you were back then, and how much remorse do you have about how you wrote about him in the 90s? And what could you tell my snotty producer there, Mike Ryan, when he blasphemes about Pat Riley, saying that, Pat Riley's time with the Miami Heat the last 5 years has been a bit of a failure?
I'm less enamored with Pat than I was 30 years ago for reasons I'll get in with you later. I do think he falls into the category of grand accomplished narcissists. I had an idea about Pat that I wanted to do prior to Tyson, which was really about his life is a symphony of ambition. And what do you do? And I think this was true of his father as well. What do you do when the game you love more than anything in the whole world doesn't quite love you back, and your physical talent isn't commensurate with your ambition and especially your desire? So, like I saw Pat, and I still think, I still think it was the greatest mistake the Knicks ever made. Now you could do the faxing, the resignation, but not signing him, not locking him up was the biggest mistake in the history of the Knicks organization. I grew up like 2 blocks in the Garden on 8th Avenue. If you look at you want to talk about the last 5 years, that's great, but also consider the last 30. So Pat's career, especially in Miami, he got what he wanted, is a case of like empire building. And it's also a case of enormous ego. What was the question about Tyson? Do I regret
what you wrote about him in the 90s when you look back at it, right? Because we created a mythology around him as we were coming up in sports writing. You were a young man. I was a young man. We were enjoying writing about somebody who was crazy, deviant, scared, vulnerable, probably mentally ill, and we only knew the beginning of the story.
And we wrote about him in a way that mythologized him as things happened around him that were, anarchy.
Mm-hmm. Like, how do I feel about it? Some things I was right on, some things I was overboard. I mean, like, beware a guy in his late 20s, early 30s with ambition and thinks he's cool. Like, a lot of it was schmucky, a lot of it was overboard, some of it was right on. Most of it lacked nuance, which is, you lack nuance at that age. I will say this, and this is peculiar to Tyson, unlike anyone I've ever seen. The guys who were like, one in particular, Pete Hamill, was my rabbi in the business, great columnist and novelist in New York. He was he wrote a beautiful obit for Customato, and he had known D'Amato and Jose Torres, that whole scene, since the 50s. So did another great writer, a seminal magazine writer, a nonfiction writer, Gay Talese. But because Cuss was such a great character, and he gave the writers what they wanted, he had seduced generations of writers prior to Tyson coming on the scene. Tyson comes on the scene, and now you have this ready-made fable of Cuss and the Kid, which also lacked nuance, and it wasn't entirely the whole truth. So the peculiar thing with Tyson is that he had, and this is unlike anyone else, he had literary cachet before he had street cred. It's only later that he becomes like an icon of what we now know as like the hip hop generation. But what came first and what seduced a whole assembly of TV executives was the literary cachet that, oh, you're writing about someone important and he's keeping the old trainer's dream alive, which might be the greatest trope in all of boxing. But Tyson was a very peculiar creature like that.
Well, from one writer to another, that's well said.
Oh, come on.
Last thing before we let you go, the name of the book, Baddest Man, The Making of Mike Tyson, the Pat Riley observation you wanted to give us at the beginning, you can give it to us at the end.
What? Didn't I give it to you already?
Well, no, you were just you were saying that that you've rethought your position on how you wrote about him 30 years ago, and I didn't know what it is that you'd learned there.
Oh, you're really good reporter, not just with Tyson. Well, this started, I was going to write a biography of Pat, and I kept sending him like genealogical material and books I had written and all sorts of stuff, and I wasn't go ahead and do it. I can't be in a position where I ask the subject's permission, and I tried to make this clear to him. I got a call from a guy on his staff we both know, and he goes, "Will you please stop calling people?" I said, "I'm doing this book, man, and I love Coach. I think the world of him. That's why I'm doing this book." He goes, "Oh, I didn't realize it." No, I said, I'm doing the book. And he says, "Well, next week, I'll talk to him, and by this time next week, you'll hear from me or from him. We'll get back to you, tell you what we think." And again, this is a guy I adored, and I did not hear from either of them. That's what pissed me off. Instead, like, I get calls from I get texts and called. One of them from Jason Williams saying like, "Hey, I got this email. I think it was an email, not a call, like saying you might be getting a call from so-and-so. Don't talk to him." Like, I guess he sent they contacted everyone who ever played for him, or coached with him, or whatever it was. And that's okay. That's cool. I understand that. But at least tell me first to my face. That's the answer.
Coward. Scared of him.
Coward?
It sounds like it.
Scared of him.
It sounds like it. I mean, it sounds like Pat Riley is a little
scared
concerned.
of who?
No. I know you're not scared. Bone crusher.
He ain't scared of me. I think there's something different. I think with Pat, it's an issue of control. I think that Pat has this idea, and he may well be doing it already, of writing his own epic biography. And he above all, looking back, Pat doesn't want to relinquish control.
One word answer. Ego rankings, top 3 or top 5? Pat Riley.
Five to 10. Ooh. Maybe 5.
Oh,
5 to 10.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, I don't mean that as a goof on the guy.
Right.
No,
This
man.
is a
People,
guy who
you are an exceptional writer and an exceptional reporter, and you're not wrong that he's an ego beast and that he likes control. And I'm guessing he knows what kind of reporter you are, and if you get close to skeletons of truth somewhere in his past, he's going to want control over that. And you know that, he knows that, and that's where your relationship ended on that book.
I mean, it sounds like Dan's angling to write the biography.
It sounds like Dan knows that. How awkward is this for you, pal?
See you later.
You could write a hell of a Pat bio.
Yeah. You could be a hell of a mouthpiece for that puff piece.
That's right.
You're
for
ducking
that
Mark.
narcissist.
I want to hear the unauthorized version.
For that ego monster. That's right. No, see, but Mark writes about people, flaws and all, and so that can be scary. It's too intimate. It's too close.
The Miami Heat wanting to control the message. What?
Can I add one thing? Like for all the excess and nuttiness with him, he changed the game in the most fundamental way. I remember like Woj telling me, this guy practically invented free agency, and the guy who could achieve no power, no agency as a player who's hanging on to stay on a roster, empowers the greatest players in the world in a way that no one could have imagined decades ago. That changes the game in the most fundamental way. And I think it changed the game in a way he could no longer control.
Thank you, Mark, for the time and the book. I would recommend anything he writes to everyone because he is exhaustive. Baddest Man, The Making of Mike Tyson. Good seeing you again, sir. Appreciate the time.
Take care, Dan. Take care, fellas. Thank you.
All right, Mike Ryan making faces back there. What is the problem? What do you think? What do you think the problem is?
I think that got a little awk for you.
You did?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, because if I can deduce anything from that interview, is I kind of want to hear Mark's book.
Yeah.
I want to read it with my ears.
About Pat?
And it seems like Pat's ducking Mark, and Pat is trying to find a friendly. And Dan, you might be that friendly.
Oh.
No.
Wait, am I a writer? Was that in? Did I just deliver the news?
You did.
Dan, I might have just delivered the news to you.
I have been wondering why Pat Riley would not tell an epic story like that or have someone have it told for him when he is, he's got 5 screenplays that he's written in his house. I would assume that he would want to tell his own story. He doesn't seem to want to do that from every angle that I have seen. I would say that would be, you know what, being in the documentary business, I would say that one of the gets that would get done no matter what, unlike Jerry Jones getting a 10-part series on Netflix, is if Pat Riley can write his number right now if he tells people, I will tell my story.
Is he waiting for a better ending?
I mean, I don't think he thinks he's ever going to die. I think he's going to just crawl and try to beat everyone till the very end and then stick a hand out of the grave and say, with a middle finger toward the Celtics.
That has a championship ring on it.
Yeah, just like...
Does he realize that Terry Rozier is getting $27 million next year? Part of this whole equation.
Riley has told his story on The Art of Conversation.
So is Tyson, by the way, in an interview mentioned by Mark Kriegel, which is the only reason we had him on right there. It's for that little bit of flattery. Yes. Tell me about that episode of Art of Conversation that enlightened you.
5 screenplays?
5 or 6, yeah. There's a creative buried somewhere in there that never got to be creative.
And a guy that was around Tinseltown for quite a while.
Focus on roster construction.
That is the height of entertainment. Tinseltown created Showtime, created fashion in Hollywood. Armani made Armani famous. Ridiculous legacy.
Does he still have that deal, or was that like an urban legend where he can walk into any Armani store and get a suit?
He denies it, and A-Rod denies it, but I had reported that the two of them did have that deal. Both of them had the deal with Armani.
If they both denied it,
Roy,
seems like a...
Do you think that's good journalism then by Dan?
Yeah. Good job.
From one writer to another.
You dicks.
Did Kriegel take out the hockey news? Did he say he did take
I wish he played with me a little bit better because what he was doing was like his own opinion on the current state of writers because they just let anybody in, which I'm like, hey, that's the point I'm trying to make here, pal.
He ultimately did agree with Mike.
He did. You saw that? You weren't prepared. Shame on you for booking a member of a writers association today. You put my back up against the wall. The claws come out.
He didn't really agree with Mike, though.
Yeah, whatever.
He did. He was sarcastically saying that nowadays they'll let anyone with a phone in.
Which is the point I was trying to make. Hey, huge race this weekend in Mexico City.
Wait a minute. What kind of transition is that? I saw the gearhead. You've had a lot of influence over today's show, including a first hour in which you've insulted Roy. Jessica reprimanded you. It seemed fair to me. You ignored it. You barreled on. You're saying you're right about everything. You're annoying people. Charlie hasn't talked in a month.
Yep. Sorry about that. But, Charlie, you're not on the cast, so back off.
Dan, did you really want more of me?
As fake Dan, yes. I wanted to go to you until it fell apart, and then I would be victorious. But I'm saving that for the end of the show.
The NASCAR Cup Series.
Give me. You lost
Gear
the
me.
gearhead
I
already?
mean, it's a little. It's more awkward than that interview was. We'll edit it out. Though.
It was long. Yeah, that was. I fell apart there, man.
I'm leaving it all in.
I fell apart there. Oh yeah, we're live. 3 of you shouted it at me. I heard it. I developed a third ear to hear it.
Always good to hear on live. We'll clean that up.
Yep. NASCAR Cup Series goes to Mexico City. This is the first time the Cup Series.
It's 3 shows in 24 hours.
It's
like,
a lot.
come on.
How about us? We don't do that. We don't do that.
Those haulers went from Michigan Motor Speedway and drove all the way down to Mexico. Interesting time in history to do that, especially for NASCAR. Daniel Suarez, a homecoming in Mexico City. This is a road course, people. They're heading over to the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. I did that from the top of my head.
Nailed it.
Did that from the top of my head.
There was some Zagacki in there, though, because you sounded a little scared.
Yeah, well, because I'm like, which one is it? Oh, the Hermanos Rodriguez Autodromo, of course. That translates loosely into the Autodrome Brothers Rodriguez. Yeah. Or Rodriguez Brothers. Anywho. Daniel Suarez, everyone's going to be rooting for him. He's a hometown favorite. But this is a road course, and there are plenty of road specialists in the NASCAR Cup Series. Chase Elliott, although he is on bad form lately, got to be wondering if he's at the end of his time at Hendrick Motorsports. You got Kyle Larson, who's proven that he can win in a road course. Tyler Reddick, a bunch of specialists. And the 11 car of Denny Hamlin seems to be in proper form. This is going to be an excellent race. It's going to be on Amazon Prime, and I love Amazon Prime's coverage. Their whole approach to sports fits in perfectly with NASCAR's presentation. Gearhead is presented by NASCAR. For all the latest insights and storylines, and to find out when and where to watch, visit NASCAR.com. This should be a great race, and for this race, they're doing something totally foreign to NASCAR. They're going to have a podium. The top 3 finishers are going to get celebrated. In NASCAR, they generally celebrate, if you ain't first, you're last. But this time,
the gearhead seems to be falling apart and missing pieces.
But this time they're acclimating to a more global tradition, not being so myopic. The top 3 finishers make the podium.
I thought all races were on roads.
Guessing ice not going to be at this one.
Yes, but they're ovals. Okay. You know, your super speedways and road courses, and the occasional roval. How much time do you have? Wow. Let's have a coffee.
Yes, at another time we will have a coffee. Dominique, I wanted to ask you, based on the conversation we were having with Jessica earlier, because it is wild to see happen, greed, capitalism, private equity, college sports being such an untapped market for, if we stream softball and people watch, yes, of course, a softball player will be worth $1 million if she can dominate a game. As market inefficiencies are exploited in the business of sports and as kids and young people get devoured by it, when you see an 8th grader being paid to play football, like at what point are any one of the people listening willing to put a line on that's too far, like that's too much childhood stolen in the name of business, paying an 8th grader to play football?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about private equity firms coming into college sports, which is outrageous how professionalized that's all or is becoming. But this point in the article in the New York Times, it starts off by saying that the mother of this D.C. kid who is now in 8th grade, headed to the 9th grade at DeMatha, which is a sports powerhouse in that area, that she remembered when he was 10 years old that coaches of like youth rec football teams were giving her $1,000 handshakes in order to get a 10-year-old to go play football on his team. And I assume that some of the reason of that is ego, but also some of the reason for that is money. And I think the part of it is not that I'm arguing that these players are not that valuable or don't have value. They do have value. But the scary part is that they become commodities and they become stepping stones, which happens so often, and we're more accustomed to it with basketball players, which doesn't make it any better or worse, but they see a kid with some level of talent, and it's not necessarily like, let me help cultivate this kid's talent to get him to where he deserves. It's where can I springboard onto after I take some credit for making this kid something, because you'll get attention. You have the dominant kid on your 10-year-old football team. You're then using that to springboard your way into being a trainer for other kids who will never make it, but you're going to say, I'll make you just like that kid because I made that kid. Or into being a coach for one of these powers, into being a college coach. Like, that's the part that offends me. I understand child actors, child musicians, children with unique talents deserve to be compensated for it. The scary part is the same thing that happens in those industries starting to happen in one of the purer places, or the places that we feel are pretty pure. It's like youth sports. It's getting grosser and grosser, and I hate it.
I hear your perspective, and it's a very American one, but over in the UK, if you're 15 years old and you're a hot soccer talent, you can sign at the age of 15 for about 175 in wages, 175,000 in wages. So this is not without precedent, and they don't have these concerns across the pond.
Right. If you don't like it, Mike, you can leave. You want to go live in Europe? Beat it.
Show me your papers. Did you just love it or leave it for me?
Wait,
in the face of a good point, is that your default?
I
This
don't-
exists, and like there aren't like the concern for the humanity of the children and the bleeding heart
Right.
stuff that you're doing,
So-
which is it's very shocking to the American system. But these are if we're looking at these programs as actual pro programs, which they've been for a long time, then they're well within their rights to take an investment in a younger person, and that younger person is well within his rights to maximize his value.
No, I certainly appreciate the pushback, and I'm not going to pretend as if I'm an expert on international football rules. But
I mean, you were born in the UK.
I was born in the UK, military base, baby. But my guess is that professionalizing at a young age has its drawbacks. Like I don't.
Oh yeah.
And I think
Yeah,
that
some of these people are pretty dumb.
And I also think that they have a system that's designed to operate that way. We don't. We have a system that's very different. And so without the rules, that's the more concerning part. Like, again, I'm not an expert on that, but my guess is that there are some rules, but there are also very ugly things. Even though I don't know everything about it, I know that they raid countries that don't have the infrastructure and go pick out the athletes and then take them and exploit them. So, like, I'm not
work for one
looking-
of these clubs. Chelsea had a very well-run, robust academy, and they had a scouting network that would go into other countries that did not have this infrastructure, and they would really boost their academy to the point of being one in the tops of the world.
So I appreciate, and on my show, Charlie does this a lot, where I try to fall into this easy, defensible stance as I'm the bleeding heart. I feel sorry for everybody, and I think it's fair to push back on that. I'm not in this position trying to say I'm a bleeding heart and feel sorry for everybody, but I'm saying that we cannot also close our eyes to the position that we're putting these players in. And so, okay, I get it. I want him. His mom said that her goal is for him to make $1 million by the time he's a 9th grader. I'm fine with that. That's a fine goal to have. And maybe it'll all work out for him. But what tends to happen in these situations is while there's a top few that we point to and we celebrate and we talk about how successful they were and how unique they are, there's a whole nother group that have to go through the grinding the machine, get injured or don't have the talent, and then end up on the other side without the resource that we had. And then we put them into these adult systems without having put the protections. Oftentimes those protections come after someone has failed, after someone's taken advantage of. So again, I don't want to pretend like I am only pointing out the issues with it. Like, I agree. I want these kids who have talent and have value to get paid. I don't want to go to a world where he's not getting compensated for the value that he's creating, but I also don't want to turn a blind eye to the human cost.
But when you make it this commercial, this greedy, this, I'm going to say distinctly American, Mike, even though you're saying, and correctly, okay, this is how they do it overseas or across the pond for some reason is the way that you decided to say it. And they do that with 14 and 15-year-olds. But the place that I would stop you, and I'm not saying that soccer doesn't also have its physical perils, Bo Nix played with a broken vertebrae. Like, this is a whole different machine.
Combat sport, not a contact sport.
So now that it's visible, you think that it exists? Or have you not watched high school basketball in this country?
Oh, no.
Okay, but football, come on.
Football, it's been happening, dude. It happens at private schools in low-ranked districts across America. Like, this happens all the time. The fact that it's actually transparent is not a bad thing. It is actually a better thing, I think.
No, and I'm not arguing against that at all. I'm just saying that as we go through this process, we have to acknowledge that these other things are happening. Saying that it happens in other sports or this is not new does not remove the fact that there are still perils in the situation. So, that's my point. I sincerely appreciate your pushback, but it's not an actual pushback. It's saying, oh, it's happening. So I know it's happening. That doesn't mean that everything about it is completely on the up and up. And I think having an academy system is probably more structured and probably protects the players more than now where it's a kid in a middle school in D.C. where you parachute in and promise him a bunch of things in hopes that you can use it to springboard yourself into some other strategy.
Do you think, we just mentioned with Customato the idea of the hell you can wreak on a great young athlete by just putting on him all of your adult ego shit. But when we're talking about, I don't know where I'd have to put the age for just us to get a consensus. Yes, I believe it is wrong to pay a 8-year-old.
And that's the thing. That's the hard part about the conversation. I don't ever believe it's wrong to pay somebody if they're valuable.
Okay, to play football. Okay, concuss yourself, 9-year-old.
As much expertise as you're ever going to get on the pitch clock today, because not only is June Lee, our MLB expert from last week, sticking around for our trivia game with Chris Cody, led by Taylor Vipolis, but we also have Kylie McDaniel on the show today, and he's an ESPN insider in their MLB coverage. He's incredible at breaking down young players, prospects, and what they're going to be moving forward. So we're going to chat with him about the College World Series, which has been electric. We're going to talk to him about the MLB draft coming up in a month, some prospects who have made their major league debut, and, of course, stars from a golden era, 4 stars in Major League Baseball. We'll see if my Detroit Tigers come up once again in this episode of The Pitch Clock. But we got a lot coming at you. It's a great episode, as always, here on Thursdays on the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz. It's The Pitch Clock. Enjoy.
What's up, Le Batard fans? It's your girl, Roz Goldenwood, coming to you from Good Follow, presented by DraftKings. And now we have 2 episodes a week. We drop Tuesdays and Thursdays. Each episode is shorter, but just power-packed. In the episodes that we have coming up, were expectations too high for Angel Reese because in Chicago, the sky is falling. And in Las Vegas, has the Aces window for a championship closed? The Valkyries, the new team for the WNBA out of the Golden State, they are onto something and onto a win streak. Will break down their success. And then the New York Liberty are off to a historic start, but trouble has come as Jonquel Jones, one of their best players, has an injury. We'll discuss what that means for the team. And then Coco Gauff has come out with a comeback win and won the French Open. We're going to have some tennis discussions. And then we'll discuss the front runners for the WNBA awards of MVP and Rookie of the Year. And we have a sit-down interview with Monique Billings, friend to the show of the Golden State Valkyries. And we're going to talk about all the things that are going well right now for the Valkyries. And you guys can tap in with us. We now drop twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. And we can't wait to see you there.